Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call this Tampa City Council meeting to order. Councilman Vieira, I yield to you, sir, for the invocation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Before we begin, I'd also like to just acknowledge the passing of attorney Vin Marchetti, and who many of us knew and was an amazing attorney and advocate. I didn't know if anybody wanted to say anything.
Mr. Vera, that's a shock to me. I didn't know that till you just told me that. I served Mr. Marchetti on the Sports Authority, and condolences to his family, his friends. He was a good colleague. Thank you, sir, for bringing that to my attention.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
yeah, Vin and I started out together in the county attorney's office 30 years ago, and we're good friends, and my prayers go out to Laura and the family. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce my good friend and colleague, Matt Hall, who will be doing our opening prayer invocation this morning. Matt is an attorney at a new boutique startup firm by the name of Hill Ward Henderson. I'm joking, obviously. Matt previously clerked with the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit. He has also served as a guest lecturer on various topics at the University of Florida Levin College of Law, as well as the University of Tampa. Prior to attending law school, Matthew served as an infantry in the U.S. Army, deploying to Iraq in 2003. Matt knows the importance of service and continues to try to give back to the military veteran community and to the community at large. He created and led the Military Veterans and Affairs Committee for the Ybor City Chamber of Commerce, as well as for the Hillsborough County Bar Association, where Matt first led the Hillsborough County Bar Association Military Veterans and Affairs Committee with a nice young woman named Colleen O'Brien. Matthew also created the first endowed scholarship for military veterans at the University of Florida School of Law and is accredited to represent veterans' benefits and claims before the Department of Veterans Affairs and assist veterans at no cost to secure their disability benefits. He is also a life member of both the Disabled Veterans, the Disabled American Veterans and Veterans of Foreign Wars. Out of office, Matthew enjoys spending time on the water, watching sports, and enjoying time with his two children. And while not as fast as he used to be, Matthew still tries to participate in a few distance runs a year. So I will yield to my good friend Matt, and if everyone could please stand up and remain standing for the pledge.
Let us bow our heads. Almighty ruler of the universe, we ask you your blessings on this council in this great city. With you, we seek peace and healing, and ask that you guide us to lead lives that reflect kindness and respect. We remember the recent events of senseless violence and pray that you bring us closer together and closer to you. Let us support our neighbors and uplift them, not tear them down or attack them. We ask that you give strength to our government leaders and to protect our military and first responders. Let them lead and protect us with such stainless integrity as will reflect honor on you and all of us. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Vieira.
Here.
Goose.
Here.
Carson.
Here.
Dingfelder.
Here.
Citro.
Here.
Miranda. Maniscalco.
Here. Mr. Shelby.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, good morning. Members of Council, Martin Shelby, the City Council Attorney. Today is March 25th of 2021, and we're here at Old City Hall, 315 East Kennedy Boulevard. This is during the COVID-19 state of emergency, and today's workshop is being conducted with a live in-person quorum of the City Council President and City Council chambers. However, in response to the COVID-19 restrictions, members of the public are encouraged to participate virtually through video teleconferencing, referred to by Florida statutes and rules as communications media technology. These meetings are being held in accordance with the emergency rules of procedure as adopted by resolution number 2020-225 and as amended by resolution number 2020-490 and as recently amended by City Council. The public and the citizens of Tampa will be able to watch, listen, and view this meeting on Spectrum Channel 640, Frontier Channel 15, and live on the internet at tampa.gov/live stream, one word. Now, the members of the public are able to virtually participate by several means, including written comments by the internet or web, written comments by email, U.S. mail, to register in advance and to speak remotely during public comment with the use of CMT. And all of that and those instructions are available on the City Council's website at tampa.gov/City Council, one word. And for those who do not have CMT available to them or who wish to participate at City Hall, those citizens have the option of communications via communications media technology, which is made available to the public by the City of Tampa during this meeting on the second floor of Old City Hall, 315 East Kennedy Boulevard. And please note that the use of masks and social distancing inside the building are required. Public comments, remote or in person, using CMT will be heard at the start of the meeting at the direction of City Council. Written comments received by mail or email are delivered to the City Council, and public comments received through the website are distributed to the City Council and have been distributed before this meeting. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, sir. Just a couple of things before we begin. I received an email from a Steve Michelini requesting that item number 3 be continued to a future date, so we will not be discussing item number 3. Also, we have a memo from Council Member Vieira for item number 1, a commendation to American hero Colonel Jim Fletcher, that we give this commendation at 11 a.m. So we'll do a hard stop there and go to the commendation at 11 a.m. And then that is it. So we will go to public comment.
You want to move the items now, sir?
Question.
Yes, sir.
Oh.
Yes, sir.
Oh, thank you. So the only thing I wanted to say on, and was that Mr. Michelini's motion, or?
That was a request from Mr. Michelini to.
The only thing I wanted to say was, and what I would have said to him when if he had made this presentation today, is I've been checking out. Okay, so this is in regard to some code amendments that he and Mr. Lum have been working on, and that's all fine and good. That's allowed under our code. The only thing is I checked them with various neighborhood groups and with FAN, and I don't believe that these proposed code amendments have been vetted out to the neighborhoods and to the very active neighborhood leaders who we have. You know, I'm not saying they all need to get along, but I think at a minimum, they need to have presentations made and they need to have their own input. So between now and whenever Mr. Michelini plans on coming back, I would urge him and/or staff to get out and have those conversations in the neighborhoods.
All right, and we have Mr. Michelini on the line. Mr. Shelby?
Yes,
I don't
Mr.
think
Chairman.
it's necessary. He can get the message.
I'm going to ask council to take this item up. You having informed the public that that's going to be a request, ultimately is a decision of council. Your memo states that staff is to present these land development code amendments, and you might want to hear from staff on this as well. Yes, these are, at least some of them, to my knowledge, I can't say for all, but at least the majority of them I understand are privately initiated, and Mr. Michelini is responsible for that. But my advice would be to take up this item when you take up number 3, and ultimately you're going to have to select a date, I would think.
Okay.
And then what you would do is then make it a motion and a vote of council. It'll be council's direction.
Actually, Mr. Shelby, with all due respect, here's my concern about that.
Yes.
Is if I assume is there going to be public comment?
Yes,
before the meeting starts?
Yes, there will be.
Okay.
That's what I
mean.
mean.
I think we should actually vote now before the public comment to continue the item so people don't waste their time and we don't waste our time with that discussion from the public.
If council wants to take that up, the interesting thing, or my concern, is that a member of the public requesting something to come off the agenda that has been set by a motion of City Council cannot be removed except by a motion and continued to a date and time certain, if that's council's pleasure, by a motion of City
But I
Council.
think we should do that as early as possible.
Understood.
So
Yep.
nobody has to waste their time.
And I understand that, Council, and that's council's pleasure. Thank you, Councilmember.
Councilman Goods and Councilman
I
Carlson.
was under the impression that staff was not totally ready, and staff was gonna bring a motion to have this continue. Because I'd asked that question about the neighborhoods as well of all the emails that we received. I understand Mr. Schiller's position, but I believe that before we move this forward, I think you need to go ahead and just continue it so the public can know now and move it.
I'm not questioning whether you can do that. I see Ms. Feely and members of staff are on the line if you want to discuss that with them. If you want to do it before public comment, if that's council's pleasure, I'm just going to ask you to have a date and time, and maybe staff can make that
I don't think we need to
recommendation.
discuss it. I think it's up for just being continued. We just make the vote to
That's
continue
what
the
I
date.
say.
So what's the continuance
Councilman
date?
Carlson.
Can I just say
And
one,
then Councilman Citro.
just one thing, a process point of view, and we can talk about process more on Monday, I guess. But my understanding is that there was some confusion that staff thought it was City Council's directive that we wanted to hear about issues like this early instead of being blindsided by hearing about it from neighborhood leaders from neighborhood meetings. And I don't remember the exact motion or vote, but I think that is our intent. My concern is that I understood that at the end of this, we would be deciding to put this on the agenda, maybe for first reading or some other kind of review. And by the act of voting to put it on the agenda, it looked like an endorsement of it, even though we hadn't gotten public input. And so I think maybe on Monday we can talk about the process. I think it is our intent to try to find out as early as possible instead of finding out about things in the media or from the public. Maybe there's an extra step that we should put in. One of my suggestions yesterday was maybe we would hear it today and then it put on the agenda that we would discuss at a future date whether we would put it on the agenda again so that we could have public input along the way. But anyway, we can talk on Monday about process. Thank you.
Councilman Citro.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I tend to agree with Councilman Carlson. This is a workshop. However, I'd like to hear from Ms. Feely. Let's get a date. Let's go ahead and continue it to that date unless Ms. Feely has designs otherwise. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
We also have Mr. Michelini on the line too. He's the guy that sent the email. Mr. Michelini, if you're on the line, do you have a specific date for this, and then we can coordinate with staff and everybody else in the neighborhoods and whatnot?
Steve Michelini, please unmute yourself. Mr. Michelini is still muted. He just needs to unmute himself so he could speak.
Mr. Michelini, if you could unmute yourself.
I'll take that as the 12th of never. Let's talk with Ms. Feely. Seems like we're taking too much time just talking about it. Let's get it done.
Good morning, Council. Abby Feely, Director of Development and Growth Management. While we're waiting for Mr. Michelini a minute, I did speak with Mr. Michelini yesterday. This was a privately initiated text amendment. Council did request prior that staff bring these items to you first before they go to the Planning Commission and then before they come back on first reading. So the intent of the workshop is to have that open discussion, let you know what is forthcoming or has been filed by a private applicant, and then let you know the review that was conducted by staff and where we are. A lot of times on a text amendment, it is only one. This is a package of amendments, and we have presented a presentation on that. That being said, I do see Ms. Wells here this morning as well, and I really would ask for some clarification from council this morning as meeting with the neighborhoods. We have 85, I believe, registered neighborhood associations in the city. During the last couple of years, Ms. Dock has implemented a public information session, which she holds once the items come before you in order to share those with the public. I don't know that, I'd like to know what your expectations are when requesting us to meet with the neighborhoods. These are privately initiated amendments, so typically that has been on the onus of the applicant. We can definitely hold a virtual meeting. We could do that through notification on our website, but I'm not sure as far as the net of reaching all of those 85. So if we can get some feedback from you on what that includes, I would really appreciate that.
Councilman Carlson and then Dingfelder.
My suggestion is that now, especially with that everybody knows how to use Zoom, just call a couple Zoom, 1 or 2 Zoom meetings with all the neighborhood leaders. Maybe the first one would be all the neighborhood leaders invited, and the second one could be that they can invite their constituents. But it's a pretty easy way to notify everyone, and at the very least, email them. What's happening is that the neighborhood leaders now are emailing each other using the city list. And so the city is not the first and best source of information, which is the main thing you should do in communication. Also, there was some discussion about how about how some issues have come up years before and now are coming back before us. And some of us who are new don't know about the history of it, but also neighborhood leaders change every year usually. And so the new neighborhood leaders may have no knowledge of what the former neighborhood leaders did. So if something has not been discussed for a year, probably we should have a new set of meetings to inform the new neighborhood leaders. Thank you.
Mr. Michelini is unmuted now. Councilman Dingfelder.
All right, so Ms. Feely, I hear you. We feel your pain. Ms. Doc, you guys do a great job. I think the best thing to do is we'll take the time on Monday and talk about the process, the future process where we want this to go. In regard to today, if Mr. Michelini's on, I'd like to make a motion to continue it right this very second, but I'll take a suggestion from Mr. Michelini as to when he would like to continue this.
Mr. Michelini.
Yes, sir, Council. We don't really know the date, and staff is going to have to work on that because it also affects the timing of your workshops that have to go to the Planning Commission for workshop, and it also has to come back to you. So what we were asking for is 2 things. One is that the staff set up the public presentation portion, which is different than what your current provisions are that Abby Feely pointed out, and then it'll come back to you in a workshop format. So we don't really know the date. I would request that you continue the item to a date to be established by the staff so that they can come back and make the recommendation on the sequence of dates.
All right, well, thank you, Mr. McElhaney. So I would suggest 3 months from now, we can just put it on the June workshop. If it's not ready, we can deal with it another time,
right.
But I think 3 months is
for
plenty.
the date here. The June workshop is going to be June 24th. So your motion is for June 24th workshop, 9 a.m. If we need more time then we'll figure it out. We have a second from Councilman Carlson. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much, Mr. Michelini. All right. Before we go to public comment.
And Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to say in defense of staff, Ms. Doc and Ms. Feely put a lot of work into the preparation. They did a great PowerPoint. I think they were fully prepared to go forward. So I just, I don't know what else happened, and maybe it's in deference to the neighborhoods, which is good. Yep. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right. As I continue with the agenda before public comment, item number 4, this is a request from the administration regarding the CARE ATC Wellness Center and vaccinations and whatnot. We're going to take that first on the agenda. It should be a brief presentation, and then we'll continue from there. With the agenda, we'll go to the fire chief and continue on. All right? We're going to go to, yes?
Was there a vote on the motion?
Yeah, there was a motion from Councilman Dingfelder, second from Councilman Carlson, June 24th, 9 a.m. workshop, and it was a unanimous yes. Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am. All right, we're going to go to public comment. We're going to go to the... Yes?
I'm sorry. take public comment first, or did you want to take the walk-on and then open just the walk-on for public comment, and then move that and then take public comment? However you want to do it, Mr.
No, we'll go to
Chairman.
public comment and.
That'll be fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, if there's anybody on the second floor here in person that wishes to speak, please approach the lectern and state your name. You have 3 minutes. After each speaker, we will sanitize the lectern and go from there. Then we have a few registered speakers on the line. I have 3 here. And then we'll go to the CARE ATC vaccination discussion. If you're here in person to speak, if we can put the, yes ma'am, go ahead, please state your name.
Yes, good morning, Connie Burton, resident of East Tampa. And so this morning, Councilman, I come to you as a resident of East Tampa just to share with you what has been my observation from your last week's City Council meeting. Within 1 week that it had been announced of a move of city departments to East Tampa, I believe when it was first presented to you all, it was stated that some had no knowledge, some wanted to have more discussion, and within 1 week, a vote, the solicitation of neighborhood associations speaking for or against, but within 1 week, now we are seeing that the agenda of the mayor has been moved forward with a unanimous vote of all those that attended. And I want to bring to your attention this, that the members of the Black community, those that reside in East Tampa, for the last, say, 35 plus years, has been trying to move some agenda items. I believe Councilman Dingfelder arose to the occasion to say that the last CRA chairperson had done such a wonderful job, which there's no criticism from me, in moving the agenda of East Tampa. And I'm here to tell you that in the formation of the East Tampa leadership, whether it was under Sam Kinsey direction, the needs of the community are still the same. The community is still outcrying that they, the community, have a decision in what should happen in our community. And one of our primary requests that has gone unheard, and I'm at the point now as a resident of East Tampa to say perhaps it is deliberate, that the people are saying that we want to have a transformation of our community. We want economic opportunity for the people there. We want to see a robust rehab of homes in East Tampa. We want an affordable housing product that the people of East Tampa can afford. And so within 1 week that you didn't have information about the mayor moving her program forward, in 1 week it has been decided in 17 years under the CRA leadership of making demands for the community in terms of economic opportunity, and of course that of rehabbing houses has gone unheard. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll sanitize the lectern and we will have the next speaker.
Hey, Mentesnot, City Council, if you can hold my time. It's a young man out there for the security, Allied Security, Mentesnot, Tampa, Florida. I would like him to be removed. I would like him to be removed from this post. He's up here spreading false information that was trespassed from the city building, that last week was trespassed. I have no business up here, and have the TPD surrounding me like if they're about to arrest me. And bro, what y'all doing is y'all hyping this thing up where someone, and more than likely it's gonna be me or private citizens, gonna get hurt down here just trying to speak. just trying to speak. And it's the nonsense y'all doing right now by basically trying to tell people what to do or what they can't do, cutting their faces off. I'm telling you, this city council, white people, Orlando ghouls, cowards, straight cowards. Y'all affecting black people's rights to wear what we want to wear, do what we want to do, and y'all got black people as cowards. Y'all ain't had no rules about no signs or about nothing until black people started coming down here. This city was formed in 1823, and not till 1983 they had a black person in city council representing the black community. And at that, black people still had no rights. And cowards, y'all do everything. Y'all evolve a system to take black people's rights away. Y'all evolve a system to take black people's rights away. A grown man at a city building, at a public building, and y'all trying to tell him what to wear, and got the city police surrounding them to arrest them because of what they have on, and you can't show what they got on TV. Cowards. Nothing more, nothing less. Cowards. And all y'all up there supposed to be attorneys, supposed to be standing up for the United States Constitution. Cowards. Nothing more, nothing less. Coronavirus, coward virus. Coward virus. Y'all scared of black people having rights. Y'all scared of black people coming out of slavery. That's what y'all afraid of. Y'all ain't afraid of no motherfucking sign. Y'all afraid of black people coming out of slavery. That's what it is. Nothing more, nothing less. Cowards, grown men, cowards, sissies. Nothing more, nothing less. That's a shame that y'all try to push black people around and don't discuss nothing that goes on inside the black community. Orange Park, Fair Oaks Park, our kids getting killed, and y'all stupid Negroes and our representative discussing parks, and we can't eat, we don't have no place to live, we homeless, we jobless, unemployment, underemployment, transportation less, gentrification, and the cowards talking about 2 parks. Cowards, man, nothing more, nothing less, man. Hey, and sooner or later, we're going to challenge this rule on how developers can bring signs down here, but private citizens can't bring signs. We're going to challenge this rule on how developers can bring signs down here, but private citizens can't bring signs down here. Developers can bring graphs down here, but private citizens can't bring graphs down here because the developers, just like y'all sitting above the people right now, y'all sitting above the people. Y'all on the 3rd floor, we on the 2nd floor. Y'all sitting above the people so y'all can do what y'all want to do, and the people got to be under y'all feet. No, life don't work like that. And Orlando ghouls, stand up for our people and stand up for our community.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Mr. Chair, let me ask a question. Mr. Shelby, is there any signage or anything that's posted on the 2nd floor so people can know what the rules and regulations are?
Yes.
There is posted?
Yes,
It's right there when you walk in.
Yes, it is. And if I can, counsel, just so the public is aware, that council does have a rule in its rules of procedure, which are available on the city council's website. If people want to read it themselves, it says, no one present during a city council meeting shall engage in disruptive behavior, including intentionally making or causing to be made any disruptive noise or sound, or displaying signs or graphics in a manner disruptive to the proceedings.
And if I may, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I don't know if the reference was to the explicit language used. I don't think we need a sign telling folks not to use certain words in Tampa City Council. I just say that using words like that during any time public comment, et cetera, is not well taken by me, and I don't think well taken by anybody. This is a legislative body, and folks of all ages are watching, and to use that kind of language is not well taken. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, next speaker.
Speakers at this time.
Thank you very much. We'll go to the virtual speakers. I have 3 speakers registered. If they are on, I have Jean Strohmeyer, Stephanie Pointer, and Debbie Zoberman. If we would begin with Jean Strohmeyer.
Good morning, Chair. This is Sulene Lucas, Deputy City Clerk. I have Jean Strohmeyer on the line. If you could unmute yourself, please. Yes. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Good morning, I'm Jean Strohmeyer. I was calling to talk about item number 3 that was continued by the applicant. It's my understanding that this is a privately initiated issue, and since it's being continued, I guess the nuts and bolts of it do not matter. But my concern is, and I'm glad that it came about prior to coming to city council for rezoning, but for these gentlemen, the Lum and Michelini, it's like the fox building the hen house. They're not just watching it, they're building it, and then they're going to watch it. So, and listening to the staff over there saying that they can't notify the neighborhood associations, that's ludicrous in this day. I mean, a simple email to let us know something's coming on the agenda. I do not see why we should have the fox building the hen house. That doesn't make sense. This whole situation where they're making code amendments that we don't even know about, that are affecting our neighborhoods. I just don't understand how come they can make amendments, and we've been fighting for a year and a half to do anything, and we haven't gotten anything done. That's the way we feel about it. It's our neighborhood. We don't need them to destroy it any further than it's already been destroyed. If you look up and down West Shore and all the roads that we can't leave in case of a evacuation due to all this overbuilding. So just wanted to bring that up right now, and we'll talk about it in 3 months. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Next speaker is Stephanie Pointer.
Good morning, gentlemen. I, of course, wanted to speak about number 3. I think there was a lot of confusion. Ms. Doc spent some time with me on the telephone yesterday. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. And she explained to me that there's a system of processes, and they've kind of gotten moved around, and I asked her if there was a flow chart, and somebody puts something like this in, and where does it go from there, and how does it go through the system? And I as a school teacher, I just want and desire to see something where I can see how the system should work, and not have the confusion that we had yesterday. Ms. Doc explained to me that you guys kind of have the right of first refusal, and then it should come back to the neighborhoods. I don't know, but my issue with number 3 was it was so technical that I can't understand it, and I'm not a dummy, and so that's why we reached out for some help. But thank you so much for your time. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you very much. You as well. All right, next speaker I have is Debbie Zomerman.
Chair, Debbie Zomerman is not logged on at this time. Therefore, that concludes the public comment portion of the agenda.
Thank you very much. As stated earlier, we're going to start the agenda with item number 4, which is a walk-on from the administration regarding vaccination. I have Kelly Austin here. If not, Chief Bennett. I don't know who will be presenting, but when you're ready, we're ready. Go ahead.
All right, good morning, Council. Good morning, public. John Bennett, Chief of Staff. As mentioned, we want to thank Council for this opportunity to walk on this item. As you know, battling COVID-19 in the community requires as much vaccination opportunities as possible for the public and our personnel. This opportunity that Kelly has brought forward through her department will allow, as soon as the vaccine becomes available, to be put into our clinics, care ATC clinics. As you know, those serve in a really good return on investment for our personnel and their dependents. So with that, Kelly's available to answer any questions, but hopefully the walk-on is self-explanatory, and Ms. Austin is here if needed.
Do we have any questions at this time? If not, Ms. Austin, do you have anything?
No, again, Council, thank you very much for allowing us to bring this forward to you this morning. We think it's a very worthwhile effort, and we look forward to engaging with care ATC as soon as the vaccine is made available to them.
Move the resolution.
Second. You had a question?
I just want to make a quick comment. Thank you all for doing this. I think it's really important for people to get vaccinated as soon as possible. And despite the emails, it is voluntary to get a vaccine. But I saw that the governor's announced that I think we're going to go down to 40 next Monday. My age group came up this Monday, and I think maybe Councilman Goods also. I would encourage everybody, go when your age group comes up or when you're available, because we don't know what the lines are going to be like later on. That my line was in the FEMA spot was really short, 49 minutes from the time I got off the interstate to back. And the more we can make this accessible to people, the faster we'll get past this wave, and then we'll see what happens in the future. Thanks.
I'm still too young and I have to wait patiently. I'm old enough to run for president, but too young to get a vaccine. Councilman Vieira.
Thank you. So, Councilman Carlson, so it's next Monday, 40 and up? That, I didn't know that. That's good. Well, I'll be in line. I'll be right when it opens, waiting for the concert tickets, waiting there in line. Thank you.
Councilman Good.
Go to the dog track. I mean, they have an operation out there with the military folks that are out there serving and doing a wonderful job. I was there probably less than about 40 minutes as well. Don't worry about because you see the line backed up with cars. Just get in that line. It moves very, very quickly, and they have a system, and it works. So get vaccinated if you can.
All right, who made the motion? Councilman Dingfelder, second from Councilman Goods. All in favor? And this is the resolution for CARE ATC to start administering the COVID-19 vaccinations for City of Tampa individuals. All right. That is that. We now go to Tampa Fire. We have Chief Tripp on the line. She has a brief presentation, and then we will go into the discussion. Chief Tripp, if you're on, I know you have a PowerPoint. If you'd like to go ahead and begin.
Good morning, Council. Barbara Tripp, Interim Fire Chief for Tampa Fire Rescue. I do have a PowerPoint presentation that I'd like to present.
We, just technical things, on our monitors, all we see is a blank screen. If we can get the presentation pulled up here, we just have a, I don't know if it's showing the overhead from the second floor. Okay, we see the PowerPoint up on the big screen. Let's see about our closer monitors. There we go. Go ahead. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'll go ahead and get started. Next slide. So pretty much my master plan is going to have my mission throughout the entire plan. Basically, is to protect our community by providing immediate response for all requests for service. Next slide. This is just some data concerning our sworn personnel versus the type of calls and the number of calls that we run for the last 5 years. Next slide. These are some of the events that have taken place since the last 4 months since I've been assigned this position. Pretty much we've completed the Super Bowl 55 with success. We have completed the CFAI accreditation with minimum to no recommendations. We actually in the process of the pandemic, continues with the pandemic, and currently we have 0 personnel that's in quarantine. Well, actually, we just got 1 in quarantine. But for the majority of the part, for the implementation of the items we have put in place in the last 4 months, we have noticed a decrease in personnel with exposure. Currently, we are in the process of seeking 6 of the grants. The Assistant Grants of Firefighter, the SAFER, the UANSI grant, as well as the Homeland Security grant, and as well as the EMS matching grant and additional help for 13. Next slide. So throughout the accreditation, these are some of the points of success that we, the commissioners praised us on as far as our service delivery program, as well as the partnership that we have throughout our training programs and the different specialty program that we have. And of course, they gave kudos to the Marine divisions. Opportunities for improvement, of course, one of the areas, our vehicle replacement plan that we have and not meeting the set standards that we have in place, and pretty much our training with the different specialties, they're looking for additional refresher training. Next slide. I'm just going to review a little information. One of the issues that we've had is our CAD system, that's a computer-aided dispatch system, has been outdated. It's over 23 years old, and we have been in the last year trying to implement a new CAD. And currently, these are some of the areas that have been completed. With our mobile tech, we are in the process of developing and with the training and production, application and admin, section 1 has been completed. We are in the process of doing our in-motion mobile iPad pilot distribution. We have completed station 1, which was our test, and basically it's in the process of being approved to have it deployed to all stations by April 2nd. Next slide. These are some of the items that are in progress with the AVL system. As we move along with the different implementation, we are looking to have the AVL pretty much completed by August of this year. Our admin training is getting ready to be scheduled for the month of April. Admin scheduled. We also are in the process of designing, in the designing phase of our mobile eyes pace down, and it's pretty much about 88% completed, along with our emergency deployment data park.
Excuse me, Mr.
Next
Chairman.
slide.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes?
Point of order. Stop. Could you go back a slide? Just a point of order. You've got, Chief, you've got lots of acronyms there that I, for one, have no idea what you're talking about. Mobile eyes, haystacks, EPRO, that sort of thing. I mean,
Okay, so AVL is automated vehicle locator device. The GIS is the Geographic Information System. Mobile Eyes is just an application that we use to actually do inspections. Haystack is what we do pre-fire plans. And the routing is pretty much an application that we're using to be able to send this information through the GIS system to notify all the units of where they need to respond to the incident or the call.
thank you. Keep it up. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes? Yes, sir.
since she's on, Chief, go back to that slide. Looking at the CAD system, is this system intertwined with TPD, or is it a separate system that you're going to be using strictly for fire?
Sir, this is a separate system from TPD had.
Chief, is this all the technology you need to run the fire department, make sure these folks are getting the calls, make sure they're being routed to where they need to be routed?
This is JP. Can you repeat the question, please?
I'm asking the chief, is this all the technology at this particular point she needs for the fire department to get their communications, the radio systems, making sure that the units are knowing where they're going, everything they said they didn't have, is this everything that they need at this particular time to make sure we're efficient with the fire department? That's what I want to know.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
This CAD system that we're implementing now, as we go through the process, we're identifying certain things to make it specific for the fire department as well as the units responding to the different locations.
For the
And
record,
that's
who
where
was,
the eyes, haystack, and the routing, all of the information is coming in.
thank you. For the record, who was that was speaking before you? Because I can't really see on the screen. I hear a voice, but they didn't identify themselves.
My apologies, that was Johanna from TN9, Johanna Pickard.
All right, Johanna Playcard, aka JP.
JP.
Thank you. I see Mr. Greco has run to the podium.
Yep. But let's have the chief finish her
Yep.
presentation. Go ahead, chief.
Please.
Okay, next slide. So, coming from 2 months ago when we had to provide some resources up to the north end to assist Station 13 with the impact of the calls, we relocated the truck. We added another engine with the same level of service to that station to provide immediate care. We are in the process of collecting that data to show the amount of decrease as far as the units been called to many of the same calls, basically the overstaffing or the over exertion of one unit. Within that time frame, all of this took place on March 7th. Within that time frame, we also converted 2 of our peak cars. In the last 3 years, it's been providing service for 5 days a week, 12 hours a day. We actually converted to 7 days a week and 10 hours coverage. Next slide. So what I'm looking to do to see if we can get a consulting company to come in and provide like a comprehensive, analysis for Tampa Fire Rescue. These are some of the items that we're looking in order to provide the level of service throughout the city of Tampa to be able to help decrease our response time within the city, to identify some of what we consider the hot zone, meaning the areas where we have a lot of calls, the growth of the city. This analysis will also give us the ability to identify where we need to put additional fire stations as well as the need for additional personnel. Next slide. So just review some of the additional items that I'm looking to see if we can get assistance with is our inventory and our fleet. Currently, we have 17 engines that are beyond the life expectancy. When I say life expectancy, frontline engines in service frontline for 10 years, 5 years reserve. We have 17 engines that are beyond 15 years. 6 of those engines are currently our frontline vehicles, and basically they're due for replacement in 2025. 6 of those frontline engines should be in reserve status, but basically they are frontline engines. As we go down to the rescue cars, we have 17 transport units that are beyond life expectancy. 5 of those that's beyond life expectancy are our frontline, meaning the individuals are using those vehicles every day. With rescue cars, we have a 5-year frontline, 5-year reserve, and at 10-year mark, they are due for replacement. Currently, we have area letters, 2 that are beyond life expectancy. We only have a total of 6 within the city. One of those front lines need to be replaced in 2023, and we have 2 that are in reserve currently that are at the end of life expectancy in 2023. The time frame for the area letters is 15 years frontline and 5-year reserve. Next slide. So as we look at ways to try to assist the North End with the amount of calls, I would like to see if we can repurpose Old Station 11. That would help with the North End as far as providing some additional resources to provide the care to the community. Currently, that is occupied by TPD Law Enforcement K-9 unit. Would like to see about renting or purchasing a module to be placed out at the current training grounds, which is out on 34th Street for the K-9 unit, while their building is being built. That facility currently will need minor changes to the infrastructure to make it useful for the fire service, as far as partitions, just minor repairs, remodeling that will need to be done. So basically, one of the items I would like to do as well, the additional peak car that we have, take that and convert it into a full-time to be stationed at that location, as well as another engine to be placed there. Once we receive the information from the analysis, this will also assist us with identifying areas where we need to put additional fire stations. Next slide. So of course, been speaking with budget about trying to provide additional fundings for FTEs for new fire stations once we get that data analysis, as far as the purchasing of additional apparatus and transport unit based on our current outdated inventory of our fleet units, and look into possibly a replacement plan for future purchase of apparatus and transport unit to keep us from being in the deficit that we're in now. Next slide. So currently we have a heavy rescue that's located downtown Tampa. Would like to see about putting a heavy rescue unit on the north end to assist. Right now it takes about 30 to 40 minutes for a unit to respond up on the north end to assist with any kind of heavy rescue extrication. Looking with the amount of units that we have, old fire station maintenance shop that's located in West Tampa has actually outgrown itself. Need a larger fleet to be able to accommodate the apparatus that we have, which includes our area ladders, to be able to have the maintenance shop be able to work on those units without being exposed to the taking the units out on the city streets to try to run tests on them. Of course, with that requires additional mechanics for the maintenance shop to specialize in fire apparatus. As we look at our training facility, we have a training tower that's over 43 years, and we have a burn building that's it's past its life expectancy. The normal burn building is about 15 years, and this is pretty much has a lot of erosion. It's pretty much unsafe to do any type of burning or training at this facility. So looking to incorporate another training facility and burning tower combined. Next slide. The fire stations are being utilized 24/7. And with all of the stations, the wear and tear, there have not been a lot of additional repairs to the station. Would like to go through all of the fire stations, do some sort of repairs and infrastructure, renovate the facilities, pretty much upgrade. A lot of the stations have old, outdated equipment, as well as furniture that needs to be implemented in this master plan. And that's all I have.
Thank you very much, Chief. Let me just say before I see Mr. Greco here to speak with the union is, you know, with the unprecedented growth we have in the city, with all the apartments, with the new houses, the lot splits, and all these new houses, not just a burden on our infrastructure that we're trying to keep up with, the amount of people that are moving here, the amount of people that are living here, and our lack of coverage throughout the entire city. I mean, the chief spoke briefly on what on where we're lacking, but it's a significant public health crisis where the fire department is overworked, overextended. You see the life expectancy on some of our vehicles. You see the lack of fire stations in our city. Look at Water Street. That's booming with a lot of new residents. Look at West Tampa, Armature Works area, North Tampa, all throughout West Tampa. How do we keep up? More and more people are coming here. We have talks of a moratorium and people saying, well, there's evacuation issues. What about looking at our fire department that is not able to fully function as it should be and maintain the coverage that it needs? So, Councilman Vieira, Councilman Citro.
If I wanted to speak on this item, this is part of the master plan that I motioned for. I don't want to begin discussions until we hear from, on my item, until we hear from Mr. Greco, and I know Chief Burkhall is also going to be speaking, so I just wanted to just make that notation to speak whenever the time for speaking comes, but I just wanted to hear from Mr. Greco and then the Chief after that, if I may. Thank you.
Councilman Citro.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Yes, I've got some questions, and I'm sure that they can be answered, such as each station, how many people, how much population is covered with each station? And if I know that's going to be impossible to break down, but my point will be, we're going to have 2,000 to 4,000 new people moving into the Waterside district, into downtown, into the Channel side. We're going to need a new station there. My next question is, I know when there's an emergency called out for an ambulance service, you have so many personnel going out with so many vehicles, usually an ambulance and a truck. Is it the vehicles? If we want more vehicles, if we can afford new vehicles in our budget, then that simply means that we're going to have more firefighters, more EMS. So this whole discussion is going to be building on top of building on top of building on top of building, meaning we're going to have new trucks, new personnel, new stations. How do we explain that to our constituents that that's going to cost money? I want to hear from Mr. Greco. I also want to hear from Chief. I want to hear from city staff. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councilman Dingfelder.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just for a second, going back to Chief. Chief, I appreciate the presentation. It was very informative. Is this, the presentation you made, is this in the form of a sort of a draft document already? And if so, have we been provided that? Number one. Number two, could you, Joe, with all due respect, could you switch back to the Chief's screen? Thank you. Number two, it sounds to me like you've, and I know you've only been on board as chief or interim chief for a few months, but can you tell us about the timeline? Because you talked about hiring a consultant to look into all these issues, and also I'm curious about, is there any sort of draft tentative budget to address all of these major issues? Councilman Miranda has pointed out that the CIT program is running out in the next couple of years. It sounds to me like if we let it run out and we don't try and get it re-upped countywide, it's going to be disastrous for your program, because I know a lot of your capital improvements, especially replacing engines and that sort of thing, comes from the CIT money. So anyway, can you discuss at least the timeline for the process that you're working on?
So what I would like to do is get a consultant in within the next 6 months, 3 to 6 months, to try to see if we can get an analysis of the items that I'm looking for in the data. And then, of course, with that, discuss with staff to try to implement to have a short-term. I would like to see if we can actually get Station 11 done before the end of the year, as well as the personnel, and that's for additional personnel in the next fiscal year to assist with outfitting the units that we have implemented, even with the with engine 24 that we currently assigned at Station 13. We're going to need additional FTEs to fulfill that role as well.
So, and Mr. Bennett, perhaps I'll toss this over to you. That's not Dennis sitting there, is it? No.
Dennis.
Is that Dennis there? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Hiding behind the math. Anyway, so how do we, typically this is general fund money and or, CIT money. This is a lot of money. How do we get there over the next couple of years?
Good morning, Council. Dennis Rajero, Chief Financial Officer. That's a great question. We have rough approximations of many of these costs, and I'll address vehicles first. With what the fire department has identified as an immediate need, now, that's $32 million right off the bat. And in less than 5 years, you're going to need another $3 or $4 million for that, based on that vehicle breakdown the Chief shared with you. As you probably know, we have relied overwhelmingly on the community investment tax for public safety vehicles over the last 5 years. I anticipate we're going to continue doing that for the next 5 years also. But as you surfaced and as Councilman Miranda has surfaced, that program ends in 5 years. And half of what we receive every year already is obligated for debt service. So what we get from it, you can cut right in half on what we can spend. And as we plan the next 5 years, in the absence of a community investment tax, our challenge is going to be to wean ourselves off that revenue source. And really our only opportunity for revenue is to throw more and more of those expenses on the general fund. We haven't spent very much money at all over the last 5 years in the general fund on public safety vehicles. And of course, I don't need to tell you, every dollar you're throwing from the general fund to public safety vehicles is a dollar you're not able to spend elsewhere. So these are significant amounts of money. We haven't crafted, of course, all the estimates associated with an increase in the number of fire stations, upkeep and rehab of existing fire stations, and of course, as Councilman Citro said, the additional positions that will be necessary. That's a long way of saying these are going to be significant expenses over the next multi-year period. Now, we'll start with the fiscal year 22 budget process, and you'll see much of that information. But as we tackle the next 5-year component of the community investment tax, as we tackle the 5-year capital improvements plan concurrent with that, there's going to be some big numbers.
Councilman Goods and Mr. Greco. Yes, Mr.
Thank you, Mr.
Councilman
Rivera.
Yeah. Huh?
Good.
I just said thank you.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Well, Chief, thank you for the presentation. I know you've been tasked to do a lot of stuff with a short period of time, and this council is appreciative of the work you've done so far. My question goes to Mr. Rajero. We're going to need money. And to tell us that 6 months will take us to get a consultant, that's a long time. That's a long time to wait for a consultant to get on board to start evaluating our needs. I don't know if we can cut that down, but we need to try to cut those months down to get somebody in here right away to start doing the assessment of what it's actually going to cost. So we can let the citizens know if there's a tax that has to be increased for fire services, for public safety. You know, people understand that that's critical. When you got a fire, you got a loved one, that's critical times. If we need to go to the county about looking at redoing that CAT tax funding, bond, we do bonds for everything else. So I'm just looking at the need. So the sooner the better we can get a total assessment of what we truly, truly need. I don't like the nickel and dime the public. I don't like to say, let's go here and come back asking here. If you're gonna do something, let's do it. Do it the right way the first time so you know the dollars you need to get the job done. Public safety is job number one. And I've always said I don't like the nickel and dime the taxpayers. If they know the need and you explain the need to the people, fire safety, health is a need of the people. I'm hoping with this assessment we deal with water side, channel side, some of these other areas, some of these developers that are building now. We need to be in discussion with some of these developers that are building now. That we might can get some of that, be able to intertwine a program with them. Go underneath, well, that fire station underneath it, where it will cost us as much. We need to look at those avenues to arrive at, to cut the money dollar in half a little bit. So I'm hoping that we do get this consultant on board, that we look at those avenues, but we come back with the big picture, not the small. It's like the Pikes program. You came with this big number. The city center, you come with these numbers. Same thing needs to happen with the fire department to get your big overall number so this council can make a decision where we need to go and how we need to get there. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councilman Vieira.
Oh, no, and I wanted to first hear from Joe Greco. St. Joseph has been waiting there patiently. I can speak after him. That's fine. Go ahead.
Mr. Greco.
Good morning, Council. I'd like to put into perspective some of the things that Chief Tripp, first being very respectful to her for completing that project that was assigned to by council to her, and thank Chief Bennett's office and the mayor's office. Council, some of the stuff that was brought up in the presentation, well, all of it is exactly true. And we've been studying and talking about and discussing for years all of the topics that she brought up. I'm sorry, I'm going to call her she. Chief Tripp brought up. She's just put it on paper, but we've been talking about it for years. The funding sources for it, I don't know. I mean, I've been in the city my whole life, and there's more building in the city than ever before. And if I think the mayor even put it out that more permits and more money is coming in from building than ever before. But those are tax bases that are coming into those neighborhoods that we're not addressing the public safety needs, along with all the other infrastructure that gets put in with those high rises and with those businesses. I want to, while I'm on this topic, correct Councilman Citro on the amount of people in the Channel District. I was told it's up to 30,000 people in the Channel District, not 3,000. I was also told there's 9 million square feet of business and retail during the daytime hours, and at nighttime now, you'll have businesses open down there, and it's just starting to kick off. So Channel District not having a fire station when it's a small city in and of itself, how it got through planning, fire department, police department, city council, mayor's office, how it got through without putting a fire station in when it was in a strategic plan from 2006 and says it was of highest priority is beyond me. But there's some other things I want to unpack on there. So all these talking about dollars and finding dollars, well, we find dollars for lots of other stuff, like 18,000 more square feet over at the convention center when we don't even utilize all the convention center now, like a park over here on the river. So when we're talking about public safety and the lives of citizens of Tampa and the men and women who fight fire and rescue people in the city, we got to find the dollars somewhere. So here's some of the other stuff. Stations. Station 13 already had a truck company that was running like an engine, and Chief Tripp put up another a quint in that station and moved the truck another place. So we didn't pick up an engine. We didn't pick up another company there. We just changed apparatus. Although it's correct that we don't want to use a truck, which is the one with the big ladder on it. We don't want to use it running engine calls. So she was absolutely correct, and it should have been done a long time ago if that's what we were going to run it like, to put a quint in there or another engine company. The rescue was already assigned there. Her idea to reopen Old 11 is spot on. It's got to happen for 7, 18, 13, and 11. It's got to happen. So that old station needs to be reopened as soon as possible. The GIS study that I provided to the mayor's office, Chief Bennett's office, city council, and anybody else, in fact, the fire department, that's a non-biased study direct The information off that is directly off the city CAD system. There is no bias in that. You can check it ad nauseum. There's nothing in there that I put. All that information came right off the CAD system provided by the fire department through public information request. If you want to hire a consultant, it'll cost millions of dollars for a consultant to come in here and tell you exactly what's in that book. In fact, it laid it out exactly what Chief Tripp said. It laid out where those stations would be placed. In fact, it pinpoints them on a map. There's no even thought about it. After the city is completely built out, and who knows when that is, at this rate, it'll be built out quicker than what that GIS study said. 17 stations with a 4-minute response time in any direction, north, south, east, or west, if the unit's in quarters. That's a full build out of the city, 17 stations. We're not requesting that, neither is Chief Tripp. There needs to be 3 stations put in place immediately. Station 11, and it's already built, even though it's an old building. We live in a bunch of old buildings. As you know, we haven't built a new station in the city proper other than not a new number station in a long time. So we're going to reopen old 11, put another engine and rescue car in there, and you'll facilitate response times that are lagging and calls that are coming in that are overburdening the stations surrounding. Right there off of Waters, across from the dog track. She needs to reopen that station, and she said that in her thing. That was in the plan. Channel District, that's a no-brainer. You don't have to need a consultant to know that if you build another city right on the outskirts of your city where you only have one engine company that responds into that area, also that engine company responds onto Harbor Island. You don't need a consultant to tell you need a station in Channel District. You can just open your eyes and look up at that skyline as you're traveling westbound on I-4 and look at where it starts now at 22nd Street all the way downtown. That's all new construction that should have been handled by the previous administration and forced to put a fire station in. They're not asked, forced. Next, the fire station in North Tampa. That station that's going to house that engine company and that rescue car that's being housed currently at Station 13, who's the most populous station and the largest area in the city. That station needs to get on the plan. You don't need a consultant to tell you that. That book that I provided to each of you has that information in there. And like I said, that came right off the city computers. It shows you where the hot spots are. What Chief Tripp said, we need a consultant to tell you where the hot spots are. If you flip your books, if you have them with you, or I don't even have mine with you, but I'll be happy to come to each of your offices and show you. There's a page in there that says where the hot spots are. Those hot spots haven't changed. They're still the same ones. They're right there in that same area. They're not going to change anytime soon until you start putting people down in the Channel District, until all those condos from Gandy Boulevard to Picnic Island are occupied. But we haven't kept up in the city. We haven't hired new full-time employees. In fact, every mayor that I've been involved with, that I've talked to over all these years, I've always said, no new FTEs, no new FTEs. Well, time has come. The city's growing probably faster than any other city in America. If you're going to allow all this new building, West Tampa, that's Station 9. It's already a busy station. Not only that, now it's got Dale Mabry and Cypress, all that new Midtown activity. All this stuff that's just come out of the ground and just getting finished, all those will have bodies in them very soon. Needing service. Will all those new businesses that y'all are allowing to come in here, all of those businesses have traffic during the daytime? All of them will be needing service. Yet we're relying on the same amount of people and apparatus, other than in New Annex Tampa, where those calls didn't take anything out of the city. Those units don't come into the city to run calls unless everything else is already out, which sometimes they do. They'll send Engine 20 into the city to run some calls, or Rescue 20 to run some calls. But they didn't drag any calls out of the city. We just annexed a new piece of land. So in the city, back when we had a couple high-rises downtown, back when there was nothing on West Shore Boulevard, back when there was nothing in Midtown, we're doing the job today with all this new stuff with the same amount of manpower, except for in New Annex Tampa. So if you see the numbers she put up for 5 years, when we start adding stations, we have to add manpower. The problem is we're not adding any stations in the city. We haven't in a long time. Probably back when Poe was mayor. Anyways, The talking needs to be over. All the consulting and all that stuff, there's very smart people that work in this city. Chief Bennett, I'm sure with his analytical mind, and our great mayor, Mayor Castor, I'm sure that they can put the heads in the city together and say, listen, let's get off this and start moving. Let's start building some stations and hiring some people. The police department's going to need help too. I don't know that, maybe the chief will speak on that, but the fire department can't take any more. They got to get some stations built. We got to hire some people. Our fleet is so depleted. We're running out of a barn over there that can't even get any trucks in there. They're stacked up all over the place. You can't get service work done. And I know that I believe that they're trying to get something done with that. I know that Chief Tripp put it in her thing that we needed to hire some more mechanics over there. But I mean, the time for talking's over. The consulting's over. That GIS study I gave you, that has everything in there. To spend taxpayer dollars on some consultant to come in here and tell you the exact same stuff, because guess where they get their data from? The same computers that I got that data from, that I put in public information requests. It's not some secret. I want to praise Chief Tripp for the amount of work that she has taxed her staff with, that she has put in the long hours, and finally somebody's come through and said what we really needed. It's time. Stop. We're going to stop discussing it. Now, the citizens are going to know that the Channel District has no coverage, that Midtown is growing, that the north end up around Bougainvillea and Bush Boulevard and Florida up there, you can't run any more calls up there. Yesterday, we were supposed to start giving them some relief. Well, yesterday, one of the engines ran 17 calls, 4 after midnight. What type of employer you want coming to rescue you when you've run? Remember, there's only 24 hours in a day. Each one of these calls has a report to do. So when the person gets back to the station that just ran on your grandmother doing CPR, he's got to get on a computer and finish a 20-page report. So his eyes and his brain is so fried by the time he's ran 17 calls. It's just frustrating. I want to thank council for listening every time I come in there and talk to you. I want to thank John Bennett for listening and calling me back. But I'm tired of talking. Let's get some work done, stop all the consulting, and address the problems that we have. Chief Tripp just told you that almost every single unit in this city is beyond its life expectancy. That means that I have 75 drivers every day driving a unit that's unsafe. If one of those people in those trucks or some citizen gets hurt because of a unit that should have been put out of service 5 years ago, it's on record now. I want to thank Chief Tripp for bringing all that out. And I don't know what type of information y'all had out there before, but I've brought maintenance records to the chief's office for the last 6 years. I'm sick of talking about it. When these units go on these streets and they're running 50 and 60 miles an hour down the road, they weigh 80,000 pounds. When they hit a car, they kill people. There's a record of that. You can look it up. We're tired of talking about it. Get the stations going. Get the manpower. Listen, we're so far behind. We only got 100 applicants or 150 applicants for the last hire. You can't hire every single one of them. So you got to start hiring now, because when these stations start going up, they got to have people in them. When the apparatus are rolling down the street, they got to have bodies in them to help those citizens that are calling. We've been talking about it, discussing it, and looking at it, and putting committees together. You don't need any more of that. That GI study I gave you lays it all out. There is no other information. There is no other computer system. In fact, I heard Chief Tripp address our communication system. Chief Bennett and whoever's running that radio department or your communications department, when Orlando Goods asked if this is all you need, if this is all we're going to be able to use, if that's all you need, and Chief Tripp said yes, I'd like to respectfully say that is not what we use. Mobilize. Mobilize doesn't connect to anything in this city. The inspectors that use it is useless to them. If you don't believe me, ask an inspector. Haystacks, we don't use it. And even if we had haystacks, where are we going to get it from? We have an iPad in our truck that doesn't connect to anything. The AVL system, the AVL system that's supposed to have been coming here for the last 5 years is still not in our system. It's still not on our trucks. And when the gentleman that came to the last meeting and said that he put the fire hydrants on our iPads, he scanned in the map book, and it's on some separate piece in there. It doesn't show you, it just gives you a map page. We've asked to put some type of dispatch system in our units. Councilman Goods, it's not. It's not in there. It's not because Chief Tripp doesn't want it. It's not because Chief Bennett doesn't want it. It's because somebody down in the radio repair or something trying to protect their job, saying that they're doing good for the city and building this software system. Well, that's untrue. It's not working. I still have to get in my unit every single day and type in an address at 2 o'clock in the morning when your eyes are barely open and try and tell my driver where there's not even we don't even have a clip in the truck to hold the iPad. I have to lean it up against the windshield to get him to the call where we're going to. So if that's all we need in there, Chief Tripp, and I'm being respectful to you, if that's all we need, well, I'll respectfully say that's not true, because it's not all we need. We need people to get us a computer system in our vehicles so that we know where our fire hydrants are, so that we know where our streets are. It's a lot bigger than what was on that thing, but as much as I would like to say some of that stuff in there, that there's a little bit more that could be said, Chief Tripp has said more than any fire chief in recent history, and I'm so proud of her for that, and her staff. They're all up there working their tails off. The guy who's writing our grants, we got no grants last year, City of Tampa, Chief Bennett's office, and I know that y'all are mad about that. I'm mad about it too. We didn't get our SAFER grant last year, and we're going to get it this time because Chief Tripp got our grant writer back up in that office. But we got to hire some people. We got to build some fire stations, and it's done. I'm done talking about it, and I want to thank council for giving me this opportunity. I want to thank the mayor's office and especially Chief Bennett and Chief Tripp.
Thank you very much, sir. Before I go to you, Councilman Citro, I just want to say, we're asked a question rhetorically. Why do we waste so much money on consultants? I remember something a guy told me. In my last campaign, he goes, I'm not a campaign manager anymore, I'm a consultant. And I said, that's just your way of saying I want to charge you more. Captain Greco laid it out, Chief Tripp laid it out. We have the data. Why are we going to give somebody else money when we have great minds here in the city of Tampa? We can utilize it towards what we need. I'll stop there. Councilman Citro, then Councilman Vieira.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Joe, I feel your passion. And you and I have had long discussions. You and I have been to Citizens Fire Academy. We have worked. I have seen what you go through. You misunderstood my quote. What I said was, as soon as as soon as Water Street opens, there's going to be an additional 3,000 to 4,000 people right there. The only unit we have in the downtown area is Station 1. The closest one is on Kennedy and Willow or Davis Islands. The next closest one is Ybor City. Downtown needs another fire station. I agree with you 100% on that. And if we don't have that down here now, we're not going to have the land in the future. We need to put it down here now. I totally agree. I will say this also about Chief Tripp. You are correct. The situation in which she was put into was not fair to her, but she has handled it above and beyond any other person that I have seen come into this type of situation. And Mayor, if you're listening, that woman is no longer interim chief. She should be made permanent chief.
She's not my interim chief. She's my fire chief.
That's correct, and I agree right with you, Joe. But Joe, as soon as Water Street opens, we're going to have 4,000 more people. That's an immediate jump of 13% to downtown added. Thank you for your zeal, Joe. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilman Citro. And I laughed when you mentioned that fire training thing we were at. That wasn't my finest moment, was it, Joe?
I wasn't going to bring that up, Councilman.
Thank you. I
will say that your wife is a tough woman, though.
A lot of funny stories there. No, but I wanted to say a few things. I wanted to wait until everybody was done talking, but if we're going to talk about, because I know we also got Chief Burkaw here to talk from Tampa Police Department. But first off, I wanted to thank the administration, the Castro administration. You know, if you take a look at some of the requests we made, first with Councilman Goods in East Tampa with a new emergency vehicle there. Thereafter, about a year later, a year ago, Station 13 with another emergency vehicle there. And now recently with the changes made in Station 13, this is an administration that responds to the needs of the community whenever it comes to public safety. And Chief Tripp, thank you so much for this plan that you've put forward. I'm supportive of it. I'll be making a motion regarding this that I'll talk about just briefly. I just wanted to thank you for your hard work. I've met with you. I like you a lot. I think you're a good woman, and you're sincere and earnest. And I thank you for your work. And for Joe there, anybody who knows me knows that I love Joe Greco. Joe is as earnest as they come. He's a wrecking ball. And you know, the thing about Joe is he advocates for Tampa Fire while he works as a Tampa firefighter. So the things he's talking about, he lived yesterday, last week, 2 weeks ago, a month. He's already passionate, but then you add that on the job stuff, and it's just remarkable. So thank you for that, Joe. I love you to death,
Yes, sir.
and you know that. So again, just thank you to the administration for this. So, you know, the reason that I made a motion about a year ago for having a public safety master plan, which would include both police as well as fire, is because we shouldn't be coming with what I call patchwork requests on crises that involve neighborhoods and public safety. Public safety is number one for a city and municipality. It's got to be the stuff that cities are known for. Hank Aaron was known for home runs. The city of Tampa has got to be known for public safety. Any city does. That's number one. If a city doesn't meet its public safety needs, then what is it doing? That's what it's all about. And by the way, we're all in agreement on that. All of us in agreement on that. That's why we're coming forward. But I put this forward because, number one, I want us to be updated like this every single year on the state of a public safety master plan to make sure that we don't have these patchwork requests. Because when Councilman Goods comes and talks about constituents in East Tampa, when I come and talk about constituents in North Tampa or in New Tampa that has, out of the 6 fire stations in the city of Tampa with the longest response times, 4 are in New Tampa. We're not just talking about, as important as that is, a park. We're talking about lives. We're talking about somebody who's waiting on an ambulance for a heart attack, for their mother or their father, their sister, their son or daughter, a house on fire. This is lives, and that's what we're all about. I did this because, I'll be honest, I don't want to see another Station 13. Station 13 that services the North Tampa community. The statistics there are deplorable, and they are a disgrace to us all. Todos de nosotros, all of us. When I get passionate, I speak Spanish. What can I say? But to all of us, Station 13. Station 13 is one out of 23 stations in the city of Tampa, but takes up about 1 in 7 calls in the city of Tampa. Look at that disparity. It's the number one busiest fire station in the city of Tampa by far and away. It's not even close. And one of between 20 and 50 busiest fire stations in the United States of America. The men and women who work there deserve better. The communities that they serve, my constituents, deserve better. And we need relief for them right now. And Chief Tripp, that's what you're putting forward, and I strongly support that. I want to propose a motion when this is done for a couple of things. Number one, to have this come to us every single year so that every single council has this mechanically built in, no matter who's the mayor, no matter who's sitting here in city council, so that we have this built in, so that we have a public safety report from police and from fire every single year. Number two, so that the administration comes back to us around the time of the budget. It can be the week after the presentation of the budget, because I know the administration likes to keep certain things in, and I think we got to respect that. But to talk about what this year's fiscal budget does to repair this breach, and that's what it is, a breach on public safety for North Tampa, for Channelside, for New Tampa, for West Tampa. All of this workforce affordable housing going up in West Tampa, more and more and more families going in there. Those families need concurrent, not just amenities, those families need concurrent public safety responses to their everyday lives. And this is also to And I'll make that motion at the end whenever we're done. And this is also, too, for Tampa Fire. I know Chief Burkhall will be talking. You know, we've put forth things. I always salute the leadership of our colleague and friend, Councilman Dingfelder, who put forth an idea on having our police officers come with trained mental health professionals. That'll cost money. We need to know how to get that. The administration, there's many different funding mechanisms that we can look at for that. Obviously, we're not that. We'll have to look to the administration for that. But this issue needs to be brought up because it's the most important issue in the city of Tampa. We have areas that are literally in a crisis right now, crisis, crisis right now in public safety. Our first responders are many times in a crisis. We talk about the great work that they do. We are exacerbating their distress and their PTSD in a lot of these areas, such as Station 13, and our communities are in crisis. We have to act now, and this plan has mechanisms by which we can act now. So, Chief Tripp, thank you so much for all your work, and Mayor Castor, Chief Bennett, everyone who's there, thank you so much for your work and your partnership on this issue. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Vieira, can I just make one more comment? It takes me 2 seconds to make it. I want to thank all the Tampa Fire and Rescue personnel that are out there busting their butts every day and doing more with less. I want to thank those rescue lieutenants that are working 48 24s now instead of 24 48s. And again, I want to thank Chief Tripp for putting in the work and actually voicing the stuff that the Tampa Fire Rescue needs. It's been a long time since I heard someone get in front of council and make those kind of comments that she just made. I want to thank her again.
Thank you very much. Councilman Goods?
You know, sometimes when you see a person and people say they're angry. No, it's not anger, it's passion. You see that in me sometimes. It's not anger, it's passion. Look at Mr. Greco. See, you have to be in the trenches to understand the needs. See, if you're not in the trenches, you can't understand. You only can assume. That's why I asked about communication, because you can have the best equipment, but if you can't get there, that's a problem. What we call a hot call. That call's hot. John Bennett knows what that means, a hot call. Burkhall knows what a hot call is. You're trying to get there, and you don't know where the hell you're going. Got a call, radio. Give me a 1020, give me a location. I can't find it, but somebody's calling for help. Where's he at? Lee's been there. John's been there. I can't find him. That's why I asked about communication.
Thank you, Councilman.
And I think you need to look at, I know sometimes the administration has an idea, but sometimes we do have to ask the troops what they truly need. And if IT isn't or don't know what they truly need, they need to ask them. They need to ask them what they need. And if the system they feel is not the system to get them where they need to go, they need to get it. And I hate to be that way, but I've been there. So I understand what he's saying. It may be a cost factor, but you can't put a cost on some things. That's why I asked those questions about Mr. Hero in reference to we have to make sure we have a complete package. We can get some things now, but if communication is one of the key needs, then we need to look at the key need of what the union is asking, what the troops are asking, to make sure they can get what they got to get, find those hydrants, make sure they have a dispatch system. It's hard to hold a computer in a car, in a truck, with no mount. Every police car has a mount. And I can tell you right now, even with that mount, sometimes there are officers, because they're trying to get there, they'll look down that computer and bam, they'll run into somebody. Because their mind is trying to get it, but they're also trying to look to see where that location's at, or look at the screen to see what else is going on. Lee and John know what I'm talking about. They understand. The mayor understands. It may be a money issue, but we got for this situation, we got to look past the money issue, because we spend money on everything else. But again, public safety is number one. I don't care how you slice and dice it. It's number one. We've got to move fast. I talked about the consultant. We hear that all the time. We got to pay a consultant. Guido's right. You're on the campaign trail, you hire somebody, and they sucking your dry, eating your campaign money up. And you're doing most of the work.
Yep.
Am I right, gentlemen? You're doing most of the work. What am I paying you for?
Yep.
I'm the consultant. Consultants have their niche in certain things, but when I looked at that GIS packet, that packet is pretty intense. I can't imagine we can't take some of those things out that packet and go to work on that and hire somebody for millions of dollars to put together what we already know. So I'm not, Mr. Chairman, I'm not too in favor of hiring another consultant to go out to do some of the things we already know. To me, that's a waste of money. Some things you might need to consult on, I can understand that, but just go to the house and do a blanket consultant of everything for a master plan, we've already know what we need, our needs are. I got an issue with that kind of waste of money. But I know we need money to make this thing move, and I do want to move it, and I want to move it quickly. But I don't want to move it 6 months down the road waiting for a consultant when some of the things we already know we need. I just can't agree with waiting that long when some of the things we know we need, especially that communication system. We need to make sure it's what the guys on the street needs to make it move. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. I see Councilman Miranda's hand up, then Councilmember Carlson. Point of order.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. In fact, as we're talking about public safety, I want to say the passing of Samson Artie, who was a courageous leader of Local 754 for many years.
Thank you, Charlie.
And to his hard efforts and things that he did with his friends in the 754, and there was a lot of them that worked with various organizations. We are today what we have become because of men like Samson Artie, who worked like Mr. Greco's doing now very fearlessly and for the public need, not selfishly for themselves. He was one that worked on the retirement plan and with different mayors, and I think the fire and police retirement pension is one of the best in the country, if not the best. So the passing of Samson Artie is something that we'll all miss. Great guy, great gentleman. Let me just say this. We're talking about fire stations and building and so forth and so on. You have to start with something we haven't discussed. That's the land where you build them on. So I think that the mayor, by this message that she's hearing today, I would get the idea that she should talk to the real estate office and get together. I'm sure she has already with the fire department and needs of strategic planning of where these stations should be. Consultants are one thing. I've never used a consultant in my life. That doesn't mean I'm smart. That doesn't mean I'm better. Not politically, not anywhere else. That doesn't mean that I'm anti-consultant either. But I think that there's enough. There's a standard, I'm sure, in the federal government and in other governments above us that tells you how many fire and how many personnel and police and how many stations you need regarding the population. It might be a little inaccurate, but it's much more accurate than what we have now. So those are things that we need to do. But first, I think that the police, the fire department ought to get with the administration and figure out where the needs are. I think they already know, and where's the land available to build them at. And we have to start from the bottom up. Ooh, we can talk about financing. Yes, you can talk about a lot of things. In fact, coincidentally, this ends in 2027. That's the same year that the contract with a big item that pays no ad valorem tax, that pays little of anything, no parking, no concession money, nothing. And I'm not going to mention the name. I think those that know me know what I'm talking about. That's why I wore black for a long time. I'm not here to do that again. I'm here to tell you that what you need now is to be fair with everyone. Businesses that do big business that can give contracts for 30 or 40 or $50 million a year. The personnel should also have to pay the same thing you and I and the rest of us. Some don't even have a house, but they're paying indirectly with rent. You cannot continue to give away public funds for the need of a few. It must be distributed among all of us. What I'm saying, and I'm not a liberal and I'm not a conservative, I call myself a realist. I realize what we need and try to figure it out. But what we need now in 2027, that contract is due to be renegotiated. I'm sure it'll start 3 or 4 years earlier. So it's just around the same time. This city is in need of infrastructure for the public welfare for itself. And that was stated by all the council members who spoke before me very honorably, very sincerely. What we need is to build this fire and police department to the higher standard in the country. People don't move here because you and I live here. People live here and moving here because they want to leave where they're at. And Tampa and the area has offered some of the best living standards in the country. By all standards, we're still one of the number 1 or number 2 in the country where people want to relocate in Hillsborough County. I do believe in regionalism, but sometimes in the regions, I don't believe that I'm called the city of Tampa Bay. There is no such city of Tampa Bay. This is the city of Tampa, period. You don't have Miami Beach Bay. You don't have San Francisco Bay City. Why are we called that? The name that's catchy for some, but it has downfalls on the other side. I don't want to be compared with any other city. I want you to compare Tampa to Tampa itself. From yesterday to the day to the future. How are we going to figure out how to do things? And that's exactly what we're doing now in a very professional manner. And I thank all of you for doing what you're doing. I think that the mayor, and I'm sure she's smart enough to understand that getting together with all of you that are in need of this, all of you in the fire and police department, to come together to find out what the needs are, and I think you already know what they are, and put it together. But without that, you can't do it unless you have the land to build something on. You can't build a house if there's not an empty lot. Well, I'm asking, and I'll make a motion later on, to see if the mayor would go on and ask the real estate department to, after she works out the needs and necessities of the city and addresses those, where to find the lots to build. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councilman Carlson. Sorry, Councilman Vieira.
And I hate to cry point of order, but I just wanted to make sure that, I know Chief Burkle, I think, had a presentation.
Yes, but Chief Bennett is going to speak before
just
Burkle, and then we'll go from there. I don't know what the presentation is, but Councilman Carlson. Oh.
Just quickly, Mr. Greco mentioned some of the bad financial choices of the last mayor, and everybody in the community knows it because we get emails every day complaining about why the last administration was fiscally reckless and spending money on vanity projects instead of on necessary infrastructure. People from all over the city, South Tampa, East Tampa, everywhere say, you know, why are my potholes filled? Why didn't my roads get fixed? Why didn't the sidewalks get fixed? Now we've got a mayor and an administration that care about the people, they care about neighborhoods, city council cares about people in the neighborhoods. We've just heard an important presentation, and we've heard passionate remarks from my colleagues. The big issue is we've got to figure out where the money's coming from, and I trust the new police chief and others in coming up with the recommendations that we need, but we need to roll up our sleeves and figure out where the money's coming from. By charter, city council has control of the budget. We know that usually the administration presents it to us, but I recommend we all roll up our sleeves and start working on the money part of it, which is the most difficult right away. The police chief knows what needs to be done, but one source that I'll remind everybody of is that we do have the money for this in the dollars, at least, that Mr. Greco rolled out. We have the money. It's sitting in the downtown and Channel District CRAs. If we put a cap on the downtown and Channel District CRAs, if let's say we did it 5 years from now, even whether the CIT money is here or not, that the $35, $50, $60 million over several years can come out of those monies. And the argument is that, well, the county is matching the money right now. All we have to do is go to the county and say, can you please continue to match our money for a certain period of years so that we can replace these fire trucks and create public safety. And so we need to pull out our pencils on the rest of the budget, but we have the money sitting there. And instead of paying for gold-plated lamps, we could pay for fire engines that could save people's lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
Dingfelder.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to respond on this consultant issue.
Is your microphone on, sir?
I think so.
Yes,
How's
go
that
ahead.
better?
Yeah, there is.
Anyway, I just wanted to respond on this consultant issue. On the one hand, I agree with Joe Greco that we've all, including Joe and now Chief Tripp and council and staff, we've all agreed on the need to address some of these short-term critical issues and address them now. We don't need a consultant to tell us what they are. They're abundantly clear. But I think that a consultant can be very valuable for the long-term stuff. We're doing that in the Parks Department. We've hired a consultant to evaluate the 100+ city parks that are out there and see what the long-term needs are and what the costs are going to be and how we're going to address those. And I think that, sometimes it's good to have an outside set of eyes to look at that as opposed to just doing that internally. So I think, I know there's a lot of consultant bashing, that we read about and hear about, but I think that that sometimes it can be valuable. It can be a valuable exercise. The private sector does it all the time, and I don't think there's any reason the public sector shouldn't do it. Now, should you spend an inordinately huge amount of money on it? No. But for these long-term issues, they haven't been addressed. I think the recession hit the city so hard that everything got pulled back, and buying new trucks and fixing buildings and all those things, fixing fire stations got put on the side burner and never got put back on the main burner. But I think it's not a bad idea to have an outside consultant, an outside set of eyes, look at some of these long-term planning issues. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you very much. And before we go to Chief Bennett and TPD, just a few comments, questions. Why, with all the building of SPP and Water Street, why was a fire station not included in essentially what is a new downtown, number one? Number two is, why are we looking at building this new city center, which is a huge amount of money, when we should be addressing these fire department issues, considering the pace that the city is growing, the number of people that are moving here, and all the new construction? I mean, we should prioritize the needs of the fire department first. And then my last comment is, we purchase fire rescue vehicles. Can we lease them? Is there a cheaper alternative than to run these vehicles into the ground with constant maintenance issues that we're paying out of pocket for and whatnot? I know that as a private individual, you can lease a car, you have mileage and all these other restrictions. I don't know how it works on a commercial side. I don't know how it works on for a fire rescue vehicle, whether it be a ladder truck or a life support vehicle. Is that a cost-saving measure that makes sense? So I'll stop there. Chief Bennett, go ahead, sir, and then we have TPD.
Thank you, Chairman. John Bennett, Chief of Staff. I just wanted to kind of do a postscript to Chief Tripp, answer a few of the questions that have come up in support of Chief Tripp and the Tampa Fire Rescue Group. First, I want to thank Council for putting public safety at the forefront of any discussion, as well as I want to thank President Joe Greco for his comments and his working relationship to date. First of all, I just want to mention, and I appreciate all the comments on the consultancy, and I appreciate Councilman Dingfelder's kind of level setting on that as well. When Mr. Greco brought the data to all of us, he told me who he was giving it to. There's a lot of value in that data to jumpstart where we need to go, so I appreciate the effort that was done at what I believe was no cost to the union and to the fire department. So we're grateful to have that jumping off point. Where a consultant can come into play, and I will tell you it's thousands of dollars. I think the quote that we initially did on the scope of work was somewhere around $45,000 to $60,000. What we're looking for here is kind of the gap analysis on things that go beyond where the deployment system is. It is that long range look, and it's also areas that are a little bit more obscure than answering calls for service. For example, Every ambulance ride costs money. It's ambulance billing programs. It's how we interface with the county's level of service. It's how we interface with the private sector's basic life support system, which can pull calls off of the high priority calls that are being handled by advanced life support. So it's kind of that delta that may be beneficial to outsource to a consultant to look for the efficiency and effectiveness to keep the taxpayers' money where it needs to be in putting in those grassroots levels of service to the front lines and finding ways to recover cost benefit from looking at those efficiencies and effectiveness. Now, the next thing I wanted to mention is that I've been back to the city for a year and a half. When I left, there was a lot of supportive technology in fire rescue. The reason I know that is because I helped put that in there with the UASI grant. And part of that, just to mention, I'll use one small example of the Haystack program, which was originally called Digital Sandbox. The fire department has to go out and do fire plans. And it didn't make sense at the time when I was looking at this about 8 years ago that they were building fire plans in one module and they were trying to run Homeland Security information to get our UASI grants to keep coming in a completely different module. So we had worked with the vendor to merge those technologies. I can't speak to the leadership change and philosophy of not using that program for fire plans, but the ultimate goal was to keep the UASI dollars flowing to our city and our region. And that's how we get it, is the data that comes out of those fire plans that shows our vulnerability assessments to the greater community. And we have managed to sustain our urban area security initiative for now what is up to 9 counties and 3 major municipalities over the 9/11 period. So it's very important that we look to synthesize technologies, allow them to talk to each other, and reduce the level of effort. And I was very surprised when I came back, the degradation in technology, both in hardware and software. And I can tell you that my first conversation was with technology and information about pulling back all the command and control and knowing what the best level of service in supporting technology is for all departments, and to make sure that's at the highest standard possible. And that's been being worked on now for the last 18 months. And I'm confident that we will get this technology where it needs to be. And I appreciate some of the bridging efforts that we've worked with fire on, especially in the last 6 months, until we get that technology in place. And I agree, we need those tactical technologies, because the most important thing that happens after that 911 call is answered is the arrival of the unit to handle that call for service. This city gets about 1.1 million calls going through the 911 center a year. Not all those end up in dispatch calls to fire or police, but that's a call about every, there's a call about every 2 minutes coming in. And I can tell you that that level of service with 1.1 million calls coming into a city of 400,000 and a daily influx in tourism is just going to get busier, as everybody stated. But we also need to look at this from an efficiency point of view. One of the very first questions I asked when I got here in August of 19 was, what level of service does the fire department want to sustain, and what are the resource gaps in that ability to sustain that level of service in every single neighborhood? There should be no neighborhood that is below that level of service, no matter what corner of the city you live in. And once we get that information, then it's a matter of looking at the personnel and their work rest cycle, which you've heard Mr. Greco talk about from the front lines, which is not anywhere close to where it needs to be, and the associated stress that goes with those work rest cycles. So once we have the information between the level of service that we want in every community, the rolling stock and the personnel and the technology to deliver that, then we have that gap analysis, and we need to close that as fast as possible with the financial resources and the grants that are out there. And we're going to continue to do that in a sustainable way, but that's kind of what we're working on. But I will tell you that there is a tangential benefit to using a very strategic focus of a consultant while the fire department and the union and the rest of the staff are working on the grassroots service delivery. So I just kind of wanted to put that in context. Now we'll give it over to Chief Burkhall, who can, if the chairman is so ready and council's ready, we can start the police side of the presentation. Thank you.
Before we go to Chief Burkhardt, just want to let folks know that it's 10:52. We were going to stop at or pause at 11 for the commendation to Colonel Fletcher.
And if I may, he's here, but I'm presenting him a Hillsborough County Bar Award at 12 o'clock, so we can wait 30 minutes. I don't want to divide this and make folks wait longer, but I appreciate that, sir. But we can do it at 11:30 or so.
Okay, Chief Burkhardt, go ahead, sir. If they could pull up the presentation so we can begin. This is for TPD. No, it was part of the whole workshop discussion. Okay, it's coming. There it is. Almost there. Okay, TPD 3-year plan. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, good morning, Council. This is Lee Burkhardt, the Assistant Chief of Operations at the Tampa Police Department. I'm here on behalf of Chief Brian Dugan to present some key points of our master plan. Next slide. So the Tampa Police Department is one of the best police organizations in the nation, as we are progressive and forward-thinking. Many law enforcement agencies come to our organization to learn our best practices and take those back. And I think we've had those discussions before about the visiting chiefs that come down annually to see how we do business. So one of our successes began back nearly 2 decades ago when we developed our business plan, beginning with our mission. We simplified our mission statement to read exactly as it is in front of you. The mission of the Tampa Police Department is to reduce crime and enhance the quality of life through cooperative partnership with all citizens. So by simplifying this statement, we made it now available for all officers to clearly understand what our mission is and that everything we do falls under that mission. So just last year, we added our core values, which appropriately fall under the acronym of TRUST. Transparency is using innovative technology to enhance our efficiency and transparency. Respect is treating everyone with dignity and respect, just like our golden rule that we have. Understanding, a mutual understanding of the community goals and values. Safety, improving officer and citizen safety through education and training. And teamwork is partnering with the community to solve and prevent crimes. Next slide. So the Tampa Police Department provides itself on being outstanding stewards of public funds, and we've become more efficient with less resources. So back in 2000, our officer to citizen ratio was 3.2 officers per 1,000 citizens. And at that time, our city's reputation was known for its high crime rate. In 2010, our ratio was 2.9 officers per 1,000 citizens, and that continued to lower, but our quality of service improved. So currently, we are at a scale of the national average of 2.4 officers per 1,000 citizens. So while Tampa's become one of the lowest crime rates in its city, we also are projecting what the estimates of the population will grow. We haven't received the final census report, but as you can see, based on our historic numbers, we're more effective now than we were in 2000 with a much lower officer to citizen ratio. So when you're assigning your personnel, there's many factors to consider, including the region, the city size, the effectiveness of the organization. There's actually a staffing decision formula that's based on multitude of factors, and that's the shared community mission and goals, plus effective resource management, plus available discretionary patrol time, plus quality problem-solving strategies, which together equal crime reduction effectiveness. So nevertheless, we're looking for that sweet spot, and we're working with the administration and our numbers to figure out where that is. And to Councilman Miranda's point, that sweet spot's different for different communities. For example, San Diego, back in the day, had one of the lowest crime rates of the 30 largest cities, and their ratio was 1.7 officers per 1,000. And then there's examples of just the opposite. So it is unique to the city in finding its own sweet spot. Next slide. So this slide highlights the amount of calls our officers handle. Outside the 2020 pandemic year, our dispatch calls are on a slight decline while our self-initiated continue to increase. Just so you know, a self-initiated call could be anything from a foot patrol or a crime prevention meeting or another proactive mission-oriented function. As you can see, our average response times are within our goal of the average priority 1. And that, I think Councilman Goods was referring to before, is that hot call. And that's that priority 1 in progress call. Our goal is an 8-minute response, and we're averaging a 4.2-minute response. Next slide. So we're proactively monitoring and managing our police vehicle fleet, which is evolving from the Ford Crown Victorias to the Dodge Chargers and now the Ford Explorers. The majority of our oldest vehicles are assigned as fleet spares, and we're working with the administration on developing several options to improve the age of our fleet. We're also testing hybrid vehicles and determining how well they withstand the demands of police work. And we've already touched on the CIT funding, and I think that will cover that. We'll go to the next slide. All right, this line graph shows our focus on the crime reduction efforts of the Tampa Police Department. Back in 2002, there were over 35,000 victims of Part 1 crimes, which is a reminder that's murder, sexual battery, robbery, aggravated assault, burglary, larceny, grand theft auto, and arson. So from 2003 to 2020, nearly 2 decades, crime was reduced in Tampa by almost 78%. That's going from roughly 35,000 victims to less than 8,000 victims per year. So just last year, that would be 27,000 roughly less victims in 1 year. So as I alluded to before, the chart illustrates our revised business plan, and that incorporates our focus on four plan, which includes intelligence-led policing, a data-driven approach, proactive and preventative policing, and partnering with the community. This reduction in crime laid the foundation for our economic growth and prosperity. People now desire to move to our great city to live and work and play. Tampa is an economic hotspot which has capitalized on this foundation. The hard work of the officers in Tampa are the greatest in the nation, and the data supports the efforts of our officers. In the last decade, crime in Tampa has dropped by 47.4%. The Florida statewide average is down 37.8%, and the major cities average, which is cities over 200,000, is down 31.75%. Tampa's crime rate is 18% less than the statewide average and 52% lower than the major city average. During this same time period, Tampa's arrest rate dropped by 63.4% compared to the statewide reduction of 41% and the major city reduction of 40.7%. This demonstrates our officers are working smarter and utilizing intelligence to increase their effectiveness. Your officers are laser focused and arresting less and reducing crime at a higher rate. Moreover, they're working at a much higher and effective rate. Our clearance rate is 32.8 per 100 cases of all serious crimes. The 2019 statewide average is 25.7 per 100, and the major city rate is 18.7 per 100. So our officers are solving more crimes, making less arrests, and reducing crime at a higher rate than our statewide and major city average. So part of this process includes our proactive procedural justice approach, and that's ensuring fairness and transparency in our actions. This includes, but it's not limited to, our juvenile arrest avoidance program, our adult pre-arrest diversion program, and our marijuana civil citation program. And as Chief Bennett alluded to before, this is all accomplished by receiving over 1 million calls for service and us responding to approximately 600,000 calls in just the last year. Next slide. So this slide highlights specific crimes over the last several years, and it illustrates our recent rise in violent crime and in auto theft. Unfortunately, this is a nationwide trend, as 84% of the major cities in America reported an increase in homicide last year. In addition, 77% of major cities reported an increase in aggravated assaults. So, for example, DeKalb County, Georgia showed a 72% increase in aggravated assaults. Fort Worth, Texas, a 39% increase. Aurora, Colorado, a 36% increase. Louisville, 36%, and Tampa showed a 35% during that rating period. Next slide. So each year, our department has an annual strategy and deployment session, and we base our discussions on the current trends. This year, we decentralized 4 squads, placing more officers on the street with an enhanced focus on violent crime and community engagement. We realigned our downtown and Ybor sectors to adjust for the increasing population and demands on police services. We enhanced our training division, and we made unprecedented community engagement through the Mayor's Community Task Force. We are partnering with the National Police Foundation and the BJA, Bureau of Justice Administration, to improve our methods and technology. We are proactively seeking grants based on the current and future trends. And this year, Chief Dugan created the internal advisory team for first-line officers to give him direct feedback on our organizational needs. Next slide. So this slide will highlight our mental health plan. And I just wanted to start out by giving a quick timeline. So back in November 2020, we published an RFA, and we received no responses for a mental health program. In December of 2020, we received a letter from the 4 mental health stakeholders in Hillsborough County. And the stakeholders wanted to work with us to develop a program that would be best for this city. So in January and February, at the direction of Gail Ryder, who is the Vice President of Baycare Behavioral Health, she led the discussions between the stakeholders and the police department in determining what would work best for our city. Part of that included ride-alongs and focus groups. So in addition to having those meetings, the city is moving forward and already posted a position for a new civilian mental health coordinator. That position was posted back in February, and we received over 34 applicants. 20 met the minimum standards, and we are in the process this week and next week of conducting interviews to hire that coordinator. Our goal for March and moving forward is to hire that position and to start a pilot program with the mental health coordinators. We are looking at a care coordination program with in-field clinicians. And I will give you just a quick highlight on the program goals that we're exploring. The goals would be preventing unnecessary incarceration and/or hospitalization of mentally ill individuals. We would provide community care coordination for identified individuals, avoid duplication of behavioral health services, which is a problem in Hillsborough County with so many services, create a tight partnership between the police department and the behavioral health community, increase the quality of individuals' life through the struggles of behavioral health, and the big hot topic is decrease the need for law enforcement intervention. So this team would include law enforcement officers and clinicianal staff to include co-responders and care coordinators. The team would respond to individuals with mental health and substance abuse concerns in the community and provide immediate access to the most appropriate services. During our ride-alongs, we found that no matter how much education's out there, the local citizen is not aware of the services that are available. So having that resource for real time will make a difference. In addition, we would identify high utilizers and proactively engage those utilizers. As far as the budget, everybody's big question is how much will it cost? Our initial estimates for the first year is roughly around $800,000 to start the program up. Next slide. Most importantly, our 3-year plan includes enhancing our officer safety and wellness. As we've all seen over the last year, the amount of stress that our officers endure. Chief Dugan's made numerous comments in our internal videos to our officers that he's concerned about their well-being and their wellness. During the pandemic, the police department received enhanced care from the public safety occupational nurse. And this care benefited our officers during these trying times and provided invaluable to our officers' wellness. So based on that success, we're exploring options to expand this program post-pandemic to include additional physical and mental health care coordination. Furthermore, we're proactively recruiting the next generation of police officers through a robust diversity recruitment program. Taking care of our guardians and preparing for future must be the top priority. So that's the highlights, if there's any questions.
Councilman Goods, I see your hand, sir. Councilman Dingfelder, I see your hand. Go ahead, Councilman Goods.
Since we are on mental health, and that's a big topic for these groups and citizens, Lee, we talked about you put out the RFQ and nobody responded. I'd just like to know what was the reasoning, or did we hear anything on why people or organizations were not responding to our RFQ, which we're a big time city? I'm just curious on that.
Most of them gave the generic response that they did not have enough time and that it was a complex issue. So that was addressed in their letter. And it worked out for the better, because having a focus group with all 4 entities together and the police department allowed us to actively engage and discuss what would work best. So the no response is actually turning out to be a positive for us in developing the pilot program.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Councilman Dingfelder. Councilman Carlson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of questions. Thank you, Chief Burkall, for all your hard work you and everybody in the department do. In regard to the mental health program, I look forward to hearing more about where we're headed in the short term and perhaps in the long term. The $800,000, you and I had spoken about the possibility of grants, deferring some of those expenses. Are we in the process of looking at that?
We are. Yes, sir, we are. There's several grants that are on the horizon that we are working with Catherine Hayes in applying for.
You think there's a pretty good chance that that some of those will line up?
I'm optimistic, but it is competitive.
Okay. All right. And then secondly, in regard to the big picture of money, Mr. Chairman, actually had a constituent ask me this question about money in public safety, and the constituent said, do we have impact fee for public safety? We have impact fee for water and sewer and that sort of thing, and when they have new construction and these big, especially these big giant new buildings that are coming online that are all fantastic, and they pay a certain amount to help us with the infrastructure to meet the needs of the new building and the people that are going in them, whether or not it's residential or commercial. And that's all fine and good. But as has been pointed out, you also have a lot of infrastructure related to public safety. You got new police cars, you got new police buildings. I don't think impact fees can pay the day-to-day salaries, but that's fine. But in terms of fire trucks and maintaining buildings and building new fire stations and that sort of thing. So at the end of the meeting, Mr. Chairman, when you're taking motions, I'm going to motion that we explore the possibility under Florida law, are we allowed to have impact fees, and do other jurisdictions currently have public safety impact fees, and then go from there, because I think it could be a real opportunity to meet some of these long-term infrastructure needs. Thank you.
Councilman Carlson.
In public comment, we've had members of the public come before us and advocate for a mental health program. In particular, they've mentioned the CAHOOTS program. Have you all looked at it, and what do you think are the differences between that and what you're proposing? And do you think that what you're proposing is better, or is it an interim step toward getting to something like that? What's your expert opinion?
So we did look at the Cahoots. We've looked at over a dozen programs, and the ones that we could visit, we visited. But as to what was discussed earlier, is each city is unique in their own needs, and finding value with the mental health providers in our city and in our county is where we come up with what's best for this city. And the pilot model will be basically a combination of all the models mixed together. The mental health providers like the care coordination, as that reduce the high utilizers of the system and creates follow-up, and also reduces the police calls. And we're looking at the in-field care clinicians as well.
And just if I may, a follow-up. You mentioned mental health, responding to mental health issues and maybe drug abuse. Are there other categories where you would send a mental health person? And would it be a sworn officer, or would it be a mental health person separate from that? And at what point would you send a mental health person and an armed officer?
The pilot program would consist of an officer and a mental health clinician together.
And do you know, in studying the other programs, are there situations in other programs, the other 10 programs that you looked at, where cities send only mental health professionals, or do they always send an armed or a sworn officer?
It's very few cities send just a mental health clinician. Most of them are together, or a lot of the programs don't even send in a clinician in the field. It's just a care coordination. And with the community and mental health providers here, that's where they were leading, putting the majority of their efforts is in that care coordination and not the in-field response. But we wanted to do the in-field response, and we are putting that in the pilot program, and then we'll gauge it based on that, how it works. Does that evolve into a solo response, or does it evolve into no civilian response? That's what that pilot program will determine.
So for any of those folks who spoke out on that, if they happen to be watching, it's possible at the end of your pilot that your pilot might say that would be a good idea, or it may or may not say that's a good idea, but it's possible at the end of the pilot that
it could go either direction.
One other quick question. Some of the same folks who came before us over the summer and since have criticized the budget of the police department. Some want to zero it out completely. Some want it reduced. Have you all been able to conduct any outreach, as the budget discussions come up again now, and especially as we get closer to August and October? Have you all been able to, and I know these are difficult conversations, sorry to put you on the spot, but we're going to have lots of people in front of us, and is it possible, or have you all reached out to them, to those groups, to have direct conversations and go through the budget in detail and listen to their concerns?
There's been quite a few that I have spoken with directly, and I know Chief Dugan has. And the slide that I showed earlier illustrated how we were good stewards of our money and the taxpayers' money by naturally, basically defunding ourselves over time because we're progressive. We went from having more cops and a higher crime rate to having less cops and a lower crime rate. So we've already done that naturally. So having that conversation with everybody that'll listen, we'll have that with. And I think some of the ones that you're referring to, I have spoken to myself.
And again, sorry to put you on the spot. I know that we have people come before us that want us to spend more money on the police, and we have people that want to spend zero money on the police, and everything in between. And we are on the front line of providing responsiveness to the community for their concerns. You're on the front line of saving people's lives and protecting the community. And we appreciate your dealing directly with concerns of the community so that we can address them together. Thank you.
Councilman Vieira.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Building on those questions, I wanted to point something out that I've always believed in this narrative and in this discussion, which is that if we're going to have smart policing, quote unquote, the reforms we're talking about cost money. Implicit bias training, that's not free. That takes up time of personnel. That costs a lot of money. Body cameras, millions of dollars. mental health improvements, to have a mental health counselor come along with a law enforcement officer in calls that deal with mental health challenges, that costs a lot of money. Something that I've always maintained throughout this dialogue, a lot of people talk about defunding the police. I've always opposed that since day one. And my response has always been that if we're going to have these kinds of changes in policing that we're talking about here today, things like body cameras, things like talking about mental health for law enforcement officers too, men and women who are put in some of the worst situations, and then we expect them to come out just fine. That costs a lot of money. We're going to be talking about more money. The President of the United States has always said that, which is that if you're going to have improvements in law enforcement, that's going to require more monetary investment on those issues from taxpayers, and something that I've always support. I think that a lot of times we've been given false choices when it comes to law enforcement. Either, defund the police or keep things as they are. A lot of thoughtful people, including I think the majority of the American people, happen to say that we can support law enforcement. We can have response times and levels of service when it comes to law enforcement and public safety challenges that meet our expectations, while at the same time having community policing, talking about mental health, talking about PTSD, talking about implicit bias training for law enforcement, talking about body cameras. We can have both. We're often given false choices, and I've always refused to believe that because we don't have to choose one or the other. And I think that the way that we're going is certainly a way in which promotes good thinking on policing, while that public safety mentality that we need to have as a city. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Councilman Citro.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Chief, we've been talking today about public safety, and in fire, there was talk about their communications. There are some places within the city of Tampa where the police radio is either weak or non-existent. Has that issue been brought up since I brought it up a couple months ago?
Yes, it is. There is an active P25 plan that we're working on. That's a scaled plan that's using UASI grants as well as other funds that have been allocated for that. So that plan has already been done, is in the process.
All right, I thank you for responding to that so quickly. When we were on the campaign trail, and as we discuss with so many residents in the city, the basic needs is what they're asking for. Good roads, well-lit roads, taking away our waste, both solid and liquid, and they want to feel safe. With both fire and police, the city of Tampa is growing exponentially, and I hope that our police department and our fire department will follow suit as quickly and as much as we grow. Thank you both for your reports. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Is there anything else? Chief Bennett, anything? That's it?
And if
No, Chairman, I stand by for questions to support. That's it.
Councilman Vieira?
I only say this because I've got to run into about 5 minutes. I have to do that commendation, and then we have to do something for the Hillsborough County Bar Association. We have to log in at 11:45. May I make, number one, I want to make sure that everyone from the administration's done, because I don't want to.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, good. I know that Councilman Dingfelder and Councilman Miranda had a couple motions they talked about. It had separate motions. I want to be able to support those motions as well.
Do you want to go to new business now before the commendation?
May I, sir?
All right, that concludes our agenda, so we're good to go. Councilman Dingfelder, do you have any new business, sir?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, and I would like to go ahead and motion request that staff come back to us with a report and recommendation as related to the possibility of, and this would be legal staff as well, the possibility of implementing public service impact fees to support police and fire. Might be two different impact fees. I've been looking it up. Looks like Hillsborough County has had a fire impact fee, and I see other jurisdictions on my computer that have had police and fire for many years. So we're not inventing the wheel here. I know impact fees take a while because first you have to study the need, and then you have to figure out a fair way to implement it. It will probably be at least a year-long task. but let's start at the beginning. I'd request staff and legal to come back in 1 month.
Is May 6th all right? A little more than 30 days?
That'd be fine.
All right.
Under staff reports, and let's see where that goes.
We have a motion from Councilman Dinkfelder and a second from Councilman Vieira. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Anything else, sir?
That's it for today.
Councilman
Thank you.
Vieira, do you have anything for new business?
Yes, sir. A couple, if I may. Number one, you know, I call this the Public Safety Master Plan, and I got that off of the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. I'd like to motion that this be done on an annual basis, and we can have it in the, what do you know, the third week of March every year, that this is a report that's done from police and fire, so that if it just doesn't come up, that we continue to have that.
We have a motion from Councilman Vieira, second from Councilman Vieira. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And,
Yes, sir.
and yes, sir, and if I may as well, also wanted to motion that, I'll make it tentatively the second week in August, I don't, that a report be done to Tampa City Council on how the mayor's, this year's fiscal year budget addresses the challenges brought up in the report from TPD and Tampa Fire Rescue, so that those can be identified. Again, I don't want to preempt the administration on their presentation of the budget, but the week after, so that those can be highlighted and identified, so that we can know what's been identified in this.
Second.
August 26th. Is that okay under staff report?
Yes, sir.
We have a motion from Councilman Vieira, second from Councilman Citro. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And,
yes, sir.
And lastly, if I may, I had a motion. It's funny. Something I was sitting here during our last CRA meeting, and I was thinking to myself how much I would love to see a city or CRA youth program. I often think about the WPA, the Triple C, the NYA from the 1930s, and I've always thought that our city should have a better program to put our youth at work in areas like East Tampa, Sulphur Springs, University area, West Tampa, et cetera. And I spoke to staff on it, and there are some things in the works, and I wanted to build on that through a motion. The East Tampa CRA has had a youth employment program for some time. The CRA funds the salaries for students to have full-time work for a couple of months over the summer through the neighborhood enhancement team. This gives young people the opportunity to gain job experience, life skills, a paycheck during the summer, and also improve their neighborhoods and continue to be stakeholders in their neighborhoods. I want to make a motion that the city administration look for opportunities to use the outline of this East Tampa program as a model to replicate in some of our other at-risk communities, such as Sulphur Springs, the University area, West Tampa, et cetera. These can be summer employment or after school during the year, and with other departments. I would like to see this as one unified program that can be jointly funded with the CRA and the City of Tampa for our at-risk areas. But I think it's important that the city look for a way to support all of our youth, both in the CRA areas and in other areas that are disadvantaged. We can potentially coordinate with the CRA, but I'd like to have that come back to us. And let's say, what are we in, the end of March? How about the last week in April?
The last week in April is...
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
I can support it, but I want to make sure that, and I hear this all the time, even with East Tampa, and I had a meeting with staff on Tuesday about this. You know, everyone doesn't like to pick up trash. Everyone doesn't like to pick up trash. Some people have, you know, heat ailments and things like that. So if we're going to do it, let's do it right to where, and you know, CRA dollars can only be used for certain things in CRA zones. But if we do something that can coordinate with that, we look at some other opportunities within the city other than picking up trash.
Yes, sir, Councilman Goodson. Very well taken, sir. The way I envision this is to have young people continue to be stakeholders in their community. It could be everything from assisting old people, helping the homeless, cleaning streets, rebuilding areas and neighborhoods. It could be a whole wide variety of that. So I agree with you 100%. The spirit of your comments is incorporated.
We don't have a meeting at the end of April except a workshop on the 22nd. Do you want to put that May 6th?
Yes, sir.
All right, May 6th under staff reports. We have a motion from Councilman Vieira. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Citro. All in favor? Aye. Aye.
And I apologize, sir. I have to go to the second floor
Yes,
for the
sir.
commendation. I apologize.
Wait, is that going to be televised?
No, remember the city council commendation for Colonel Fletcher.
Yeah, no, but it's going to be part of this.
Yes.
Okay,
if we
then
may.
I'll get through the new business. Councilman Citro.
Mine will take too long. I'll do it tonight. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councilman Goods.
I don't have anything, sir. Thank you.
Councilman Carlson.
Just quickly, if I may, we had scheduled a year ago before the pandemic for Marlon Anderson to get a commendation, and I would just like to make a motion to move. It was scheduled originally for March 26, 2020. I'd just like to reschedule it for June 3rd, please.
Second. Aye.
Aye. Quickly, also, thank you all for delaying the discussion on the moratorium last week, and for pardoning my absence. I did watch the meeting on YouTube the last few days. I hope that by next week when it comes back that we will have an alternative. You all may know from constituents I'm against a moratorium. I think it doesn't solve the problem for the community. If not presented with an alternative, I'll support it. But overall, I do not support it. I support finding long-term solutions for the community, and I'm glad that Carol Post has set up a meeting tomorrow with the community to meet with them. I've been talking to developers in the community. I know others of you have been as well. Hopefully we can come to a long-term solution by next Thursday instead of a moratorium. That's really what the community wants. And last, the toilet tap issue has reappeared. The water department has, I think, 4 criteria for the objective outside analysis or alternatives analysis. I'm hearing feedback from the community that the water department is combining all 4 criteria to say there needs to be one solution for all 4 criteria when multiple solutions could address each of the 4 issues. And so in your discussions with the water department, I hope you'll have tough conversations with them to make sure that the alternatives analysis is fair and objective and transparent, unlike the last one that was done a couple years ago. Thank you.
Catch him tonight.
Okay, mine is a simple motion. I'd like to make a motion that the administration looks into possible locations in West Tampa for an honorary street sign honoring Tampa radio legend Ted Webb. If you've seen in the news, today is his last day of dialysis, and having experience with my uncle who was on dialysis and whatnot, he may last a week, it may be 2 weeks, I don't know. I know it's a short notice thing, but I'm happy to work with the administration to make it easy. April 1st is next Thursday. It's our next regularly scheduled meeting. Time is of the essence because of what I've just explained. If we could have something, and I can work with locations and whatnot and any ideas just to keep it easy under staff reports for April 1st. Wait a minute. Oh, it's got to be good. All right. No, you're...
Mr. Maniscalco has made a motion on the floor. Your second, Mr. Carlson. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved.
Thank you very much. That's it. Councilman Vieira, it's all yours.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. It's a real pleasure to be here today. You know, today, Colonel Jim Fletcher, who's here with a bunch of friends, is receiving the Liberty Bell Award from the Hillsborough County Bar Association. Myself and Judge Holder had nominated him for that, and he got that. And, Colonel Jim Fletcher, many of you all know him. He's one of my favorite people. He's such a fine gentleman. He is the president of Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 787 here in Tampa, and has many, many other titles. Colonel Fletcher is one of them, and he hates this, by the way. He's one of the most humble people you'll ever find. He's a man of decency and humanity. He's a man of just good values. Like I always say about Colonel Fletcher, he doesn't just love America, he loves Americans, because he knows that you can't love America unless if you love all Americans and show them the respect that they need and they deserve. He's also one of the senior mentors in the Veterans Treatment Court here in Hillsborough County. And so I wanted to give him a Tampa City Council commendation for all his work. Again, Colonel Fletcher is a man that I love dearly. I consider him to be family. Just have a lot of love for this man. So just wanted to do that. We have to run to the HCBA in about 5 minutes, but I'll let council members chime in if y'all would like to before we present it.
All right, Colonel Fletcher, you're an American hero and a treasure in this community. You and all other Vietnam vets and all veterans in general. Thank you for your sacrifice. We say thank you for your service, but thank you for your sacrifice. And your tremendous service to this country and your involvement in the community and your friendship with Councilmember Vieira, who's mentioned you and brought you here so many times. We've met you through Councilmember Vieira, and it's an honor to know you. You should be very proud of yourself. We're very proud of you, and we're very, very grateful for all that you've done. Any council members have anything?
I just want to say thank you for my freedom.
Yes, sir. Second that. Anybody else?
I got it.
Yeah.
Councilman Vieira, my buddy, thank you for bestowing this honor on Colonel Fletcher. And Colonel Fletcher, thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you so much, Colonel Fletcher. Thank you for everything.
Congratulations. Thank you, sir.
And I'd like to
Chairman.
bring Colonel Fletcher up here, if I may, to present this award. So Colonel Fletcher, on behalf of Tampa City Council, we present you with this Tampa City Council commendation. Here you go, sir. if you'd like to
Councilman
stand.
Dingfelder.
Oh, and Councilman Dingfelder.
John, good to see you.
Hey, Colonel, it's great to see you. I enjoyed so much working with you over in on Veterans Court, and you're an amazing guy. Keep on going.
Thank you, sir.
Go ahead, if you'd like to.
I'm going to do one thing, gentlemen. I know I'm going to get in trouble, but I love this guy.
There we go. There we go.
What can I say? Louis, thank you. I'm truly honored and humbled that Louis has seen fit to recognize me, but I want to accept this not for myself alone, but has already been mentioned for so many, especially our Vietnam veterans who will be celebrating the Welcome Home Vietnam War Veterans Day on Monday. And if you get a chance, you see a Vietnam vet or any vet, tell them, especially a Vietnam vet, welcome home. This is strange and unusual and scary times, but it has not stopped those who are dedicated and committed to service to our fellow man. And I also want to recognize them and accept this award on their behalf, because I am only a single individual. I only do what I can, but the blessings come to me for what I do. So to the City Council, gentlemen, thank you so much. I am very grateful. And Louis, airborne, my buddy.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Council. Thank you.
And before, we can get a motion to receive and file. Motion from Councilman
Chairman.
Gusick. Councilman Miranda, yes, sir?
Yes, sir, I have to make a couple of motions if I may.
Oh, go ahead, sir. I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'd like to see if, ask the mayor to get with the real estate department to see within 90 days, the last council meeting in June, I think it's June 25th, I'm not sure, what progress, if any, we've made to secure the locations that are needed for the fire departments.
So moved.
With Councilman Miranda, we have June 17th as a regular meeting. That's the last one. If not, it's going to be, there's a workshop, so. Is the 17th okay? All right.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Miranda with the motion,
So
second
moved.
from Councilmember Goods. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, go ahead, sir.
Second one, sir, is I move to have a workshop on May 27th, 2021 to hear the presentation on the conclusion of the alternative analysis being performed by Jahunta and the independent third-party review of the technical documents by the National Water Research Institute, both related to the PURE project.
We have motion from Councilman Miranda, second from Councilman Citro. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anything else, sir?
That's it, sir. Thank you very much.
All right, can we get a motion to receive and file? Motion from
So moved,
Councilman
Chairman.
Citro, second from Councilmember Goods. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We come back at 5:01 p.m. tonight. There is no reason we go past 7 o'clock. We are adjourned. Thank you.
I'll hold you to that, sir.
All right. Welcome to the public hearing for the Variance Review Board. Due to COVID-19 health precautions, limited attendance is permitted in City Council chambers. A presenter and participant waiting area has been established on the second floor of Old City Hall for your safety and convenience. Please follow the instructions during your visit. All individuals are required to wear a facial covering at all times during your visit. Upon entering the building, check in with a security guard on the first floor lobby. Please report to the second floor waiting area. A staff member will greet you and check you in for your case. Once checked in, you may take a seat until your case is ready to be heard in order of the agenda. While in the waiting area, please maintain social distancing protocol of the appropriate time to proceed to council chambers on the third floor. Once inside council chambers, please be seated in the audience area. The chairperson will review the hearing procedures and you will be sworn in. Then the review of your case will commence. Please proceed with the podium to present your case. Please note that the podium area will be sanitized between speakers. When your case is completed, please exit council chambers and proceed to the building exit. Please do not remain in the third floor lobby area. Staff will be directing other participants to council chambers and wants to ensure that appropriate distancing is being maintained. If you have questions for staff following the conclusion of your public hearing, please contact the staff member during regular business hours, since the enhanced health protocols limit their availability during public hearing process. Thank you for your cooperation. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, attendees and participants, and welcome to the March 9th, 2021 meeting of the City of Tampa Variance Review Board. From my left, the members of the board are
Susan Long,
Dustin Pastor,
Brett Feldman,
Lynn Hertak,
and Sam Walker.
Sam Walker.
Also in attendance this evening are from legal, Ms. Kamaria Pettis-Mackel, from development coordination, Mr. Joel Souza, from natural resources, Mr. Owen Williamson, and from transportation, Mr. Jonathan Scott. There are some procedural rules you will need to follow. Due to COVID-19 pandemic, please adhere to safe social distancing as set within the room, and please maintain wearing facial masks at all